Everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the regular monthly meeting for commissioners, held for the purpose of transacting the general business of the township. Today's date is April the 13th, 2022. The meeting is being held in the Springfield Township building, and it is also being offered in a live streaming format that will be available on the township's website beginning tomorrow morning. Comments will not be accepted remotely, but instructions for submitting public comment in advance of tonight's meeting were provided as a part of the posted agenda. Please stand with the Board of Commissioners in a moment of silence to reflect the honor of the Ukrainian service members and civilians who have lost their lives or have been displaced from their home as a result of the Russian invasion, and also for the men and women across the world who are subject to political turmoil and human suffering as a way of life. Thank you. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I will now entertain a motion dispensing with the reading of the minutes of the previous meeting as written and recorded in the official minutes of the book of the town in the township.
So moved.
Is that it? Do I have any oppositions to that? Do I?
You need a second. He
Second.
moved.
So I-
You need a second.
All right. I have a second. Are there any comments or oppositions? Please note a unanimous vote. The board wishes to acknowledge the absence of Baird Standish, and it also wishes to acknowledge the presence of two of our former commissioners, Commissioner Jim Daly and Commissioner Bob Gillies. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. Good seeing you both. Please announce that the Board of Commissioners conducted an executive session as part of their April the 11th, 2022 workshop meeting to discuss two personal items and one real estate matter. At the March 9th, 2022 meeting, the Board of Commissioners, the public received public comment from Margaret Mary Burke Orland, encouraging the board to reconsider its early decision to accept public comment at its meeting via advanced email or in-person email or in person only. The board discussed the various challenges associated with moderating public meetings in both an in-person and remote format. The board therefore directed the township staff to survey surrounding communities in order to determine how they are presently accommodating public comment and intends to continue this discussion at its May 9th, 2022 workshop meeting. Having said that, the board is now open to comments or questions from the public. The board draws particular attention to those items listed on the agenda this evening. Please be advised that once the committee reports begin, the board can no longer accept questions from the floor. At the conclusion of the committee reports, public comments will once more be accepted. However, official action on those issues listed on the agenda will have already taken place. Therefore, if you wish to comment on an agenda item, now would be the appropriate time. And before we begin that, we are kind of going to deviate from the way that our public comments have been done in the past. So before we begin tonight's business meeting, we're going to open up to the public discussion on the Springfield Township PBA emblem. Before we begin, I want to acknowledge the courage of the majority members of the Springfield Township Board of Commissioners for having the fortitude to allow tonight's conversation. For years on social media and other meetings, We have continually spoken about having conversations that are uncomfortable at first, but will bring about community unity here in Springfield. I am proud to be a part of that majority of the board members here that are responsible for bringing in the first rounds of these uncomfortable conversations. So in beginning that, I want to emphasize that though we are here going to be hearing views and opinions that may not mirror your own, I am going to respectfully ask that persons here be respectful of each speaker, regardless of how you feel personally. And please keep personal editorials and dubious comments to ourselves. We will be respectful of all comments of the human beings presenting these comments. Therefore, I'm requesting that all comments be kept at under 2 minutes. Before we began these meetings, we got notices from 4 individuals that wanted to speak directly to the board. So I'm going to open the floor up first to those 4, and then the meeting will be open to all public comments. And first on that agenda, the board is going to recognize the Secretary of the Cheltenham Area Branch NAACP, which includes Springfield Township, Liza Maris. Ms. Maris, floor is yours.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Nobody deserves to feel unwelcome in their own community. Police should feel supported and residents should feel safe. On this, at least, I hope we can all agree. On its surface, the Blue Lives Matter flag with its thin blue line imagery is a symbolic way to support law enforcement officers while honoring the fallen. Protecting those who protect us is something we should all be able to rally around. We are here because for many members of our close-knit community, the Blue Lives Matter flag symbolizes division that we are desperately trying to shake. For them, and for so many like them across our country, it evokes emotions like fear, anxiety, and outrage. How did this symbol come to mean such drastically different things to people who are essentially in the same group? The answer to that question lies in its history, and more importantly, how much of the history we decide to tell. Tell part of the story, and the flag is a wonderful symbol of bravery. Tell the whole story, and we need to question whether this flag could possibly symbolize the values of our Springfield Township police officers, let alone all of them. The image of the thin blue line was actually co-opted from the thin red line, a formation in the British Army back in 1854. But the man who widely popularized the use of the thin blue line for American police was William Parker, former police chief for the LAPD. And here's how it began, taken straight from El Paso News. On Christmas Eve, 1951, 7 underage Mexican youths were arrested for drinking at a bar. At the jail, almost 50 police officers took the youths out of their jail cells and beat them with wrapped fists and wet towels. The incident became known as Bloody Christmas. The grand jury also blamed the beatings on Parker's poor supervision. And to counter the negative press about how Parker handled the incident, he launched a weekly television program named The Thin Blue Line. William Parker was well known for discrimination against minorities, militarization of the police, and creating a surveillance state. He called Black people monkeys in a zoo, refused to hire Black police officers, and was known to make callously racist remarks in everyday conversation. He led the LAPD with discriminatory practices that were cited as the cause of the 1965 Watts riots. Parker went so far as to testify to the Civil Rights Commission in 1959 that segregation wasn't a problem. Is this legacy of the thin blue line really how we want to represent our Springfield Township Police? Because regardless of what this means to one person or a group of people, the history itself is abundantly clear. Now, use in modern times as the thin blue line is first placed on an American flag is even more problematic. Andrew Jacob, a white college student from an affluent suburb in Detroit, founded Thin Blue Line USA. He explained that he designed the Blue Lives Matter flag in 2014 because he was upset by protests over Tamir Rice, Michael Brown, Eric Garner, etc. Can we let that sink in for a moment? A man was upset that the public protested the murders of Black people at the hands of rogue police. He argued that protesters did not show enough, quote, reverence for police and asking that police brutality be addressed.
Excuse me. At the beginning of the meeting, I informed everyone that there were 4 distinct requests for members of these organizations for time to speak. And I announced that before I began this. Please do not, I said that members from the public will have 2 minutes to speak. Please be cognitive of that before we go on. Ms. Maris, the floor is now yours. The floor is yours, Ms. Maris.
Sure. He argued that protesters did not show enough reverence for police and asking that police brutality be addressed. Black people should be more reverent, be more polite when you're asking not to be murdered. To Andrew Jacob and many like him, the Black Lives Matter movement hit a nerve. Perhaps because it directly challenged a 400-year-old history where Blacks were expected to quietly accept their status or face the consequences. A history full of slave patrols, lynch mobs, segregation, and Bill Parkers. For Andrew Jacob, the notion that a group of Americans were pushing back against the status quo warranted a swift response. By creating a narrative that condemning violent rogue police officers somehow equals condemning law enforcement as an institution, Andrew Jacob effectively drew a new line, one that divided police officers and the diverse communities they serve. In short, this flag has a dishonorable history and sows division in our community. Most police departments and PBAs across the country have rejected the thin blue line symbols as their official logos. They do not wear them when on duty, precisely because of this controversy it causes. There's no reason why Springfield should not join the ranks of the rest on this issue. We are not here because we don't support the police, and frankly, any inference to the contrary is divisive, inflammatory, and false. All we are asking is to choose a symbol that unites and uplifts our community. There is no trade-off or zero-sum game between supporting safety for our Black neighbors and police safety. We can have both be valued, and we can have a symbol that represents us all, protected equally under the law. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Myers. The board also recognized that we had a request from former Commissioner Bob Gillies. The name is Kathy Barnett. Is Ms. Barnett available? She's not. Do you wish to stand in her place? You'll wait for the other two? Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Gillies. Now we're going to call, and I'm so sorry, I just recognized the board wishes to recognize the president of State Representative Napoleon Nelson. Representative Nelson, please forgive me for not recognizing you earlier.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Again, I am Napoleon Nelson, for those who I have not yet had the opportunity to meet. I'm happy that we are gathered so far in a great conversation, and I'm hoping that it remains a great conversation. I pray and I'm sure that it will. When we're in Harrisburg, we find a way oftentimes to kind of bicker and fight amongst strangers. What's important is as we continue on with this and you know, for the weeks and months ahead, that we have these dialogues amongst neighbors. Hopefully we'll find a way to have conversations, even if they lead to disagreements among family. Because I know many of you are neighbors. We've probably got some Little League coaches in here. I'm sure we've got some folks with, you know, kindergartners and high school graduates who are in the same classes. Springfield is an amazing, amazing township, and you all know that. Our law enforcement are amazing, amazing individuals, and we all know that. I am blessed to have had the chance to sit down and break bread with several members from the Benevolence Association, and to them who are not here, I say thank you always for your service. To those who are working right now, I say thank you for watching over the township as we meet. I personally am not a huge fan of the symbol that the PBA is using, but I personally am completely understanding of their ability and decision to use it. My hope and prayer always will be through more conversations, through us as a community continuing to both wrap our arms around symbols and symbolism within both Springfield and within America, and continue to show and support those who are putting their lives on the line on a regular basis, and those who they are serving, and the feelings and emotions of the community. I hope and pray that we will sometime, perhaps down the line, find what symbol works for everybody. Right now, the PBA has chosen a symbol. I really, really respect those individuals. I believe that they are doing what I would not do, but I am thrilled that they have the opportunity to do it. I am thrilled that this room is full of people who are supportive of what is and will be Springfield. And I really, really look forward to ongoing conversations with you all, both individually, so that I can have a better understanding and perspective, and also with our PBA. Thank you so much, all of you, for your support, both of these individuals here, as well as those who are serving our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Representative Nelson, for those comments. And moving forward, the floor wishes to recognize Code Chiba from Congresswoman Madeline Dean's office. Mr. Chiba, the floor is now yours.
Thank you for giving me a moment to speak. Congresswoman Dean could not make it here. She unfortunately had a conflict, but she asked that I come here and read a very short statement to the board and to the residents. So, our communities flourish when its core institutions and community members have open dialogues to ensure they are working hand in hand. I'm grateful for the dedicated work and sacrifice of the Springfield Township Police Department to protect and maintain a safe community for all residents. The PBA is a wonderful extension of their work. Symbols and logos displayed by core community institutions must demonstrate solidarity and unity. The Cheltenham area NAACP has voiced their concerns over the current PBA symbol that, rather than continue to unite, has become a point of contention. While I am certain that their association did not intend to invoke anything but unity and solidarity, I share Cheltenham area NAACP's concern, though we must be careful that any symbols displayed encourage only unity and solidarity and have not been co-opted by groups seeking division. I hope that both organizations work together to resolve this conflict and agree on a symbol that best reflects the PBA's positive presence in the community, honors the sacrifice of our officers, and is a welcoming symbol for all in our community. I support this collaboration, and my office is available as a resource in this partnership. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chiba. We appreciate it. We also appreciate that statement from the office of Congresswoman Dean. Now we will open up there will be two more statements. I didn't realize that Representative Nelson was going to be here. So the other two statements were from Ellen Stevenson from Social Justice Indivisible. I believe she has sent a surrogate to speak in her stead. Please announce your name, please. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Alexandra Klinger. Should I say my address? No.
You don't have to.
And I'm reading it's a statement that was given by Ellen Stevenson. I moved to Springfield Township 10 years ago into an old home with a big yard and the promise of a new beginning for Jim and I, all close to our family. To my pure delight, the people who befriended us held the same values and had a similar sense of community as we did. And so I found myself part of a larger family than I could have imagined. Tonight, we have an opportunity to solve a problem that is dividing this community. All it takes is the will to do it and the humility to understand the impact our actions have on others. I've researched the history of the Blue Line flag, and regardless of good intentions in its design, we cannot ignore the fact that today it is a symbol of white supremacy and lawlessness. It was flown at the Unite the Right March while you will not replace us was being chanted, and at the insurrection on January 6th, where police were brutally beaten and our democracy was assaulted. Both events were widely televised with participants flying the blue line flag. The entire nation was educated on the meaning of that flag as we watched those events. And today it is just a fact that cannot be ignored. With regard to supporting our police, I personally believe that they have one of the most difficult jobs imaginable. We live in a country where just about anyone can get their hands on one or more guns. A divided country where this access to guns killed 40,222 people in 2020, over twice the number of every man, woman, and child in Springfield Township. This is the environment our police work in every day. The blue line flag symbol discredits our police force and our community. As a white woman, I'm uncomfortable with it, and it leads me to ask why it is still used in connection with our township police. Develop a new symbol for Springfield that reflects the best in our police force, a message that unites, supports, and respects all of us. To ignore the message the blue line flag sends today is a dereliction of duty by all of us in this room.
Thank you very much. Our final speaker before we open it up for public comments is from Ms. Linda Fields. Ms. Fields, are you here? Okay, Ms. Fields was going to make a statement. She is the president of the Montgomery County Black Caucus, as well as being a national, she's on the Democratic National Convention. So now we're going to open the floor up for public comment. I asked Mr. Gillies if he wanted to say anything. Right, so now I'm going to open the floor up for public comment, and I am asking if for the public comments for those comments to be kept under around 2 minutes. The floor is now open for whoever wishes to come to the mic. If you can form a line down the middle, we will call you up to make your comments. What are you going to say? Yeah. Yes, sir. You can go. Please announce, give us your name, please, for the camera.
My name's Adam Gorin. I'm a longtime Springfield Township resident, and I appreciate the conversation about this. We're all humans here. So I'm really grateful for our police here. I feel like I do not communicate that frequently enough. It's very easy to get lost in the day-to-day things, and it is impossible for me to fully imagine the commitment, the courage, the sacrifice, and stress involved with doing that job. And also, I think that extends to the family members of our police officers, that the worry and the concern that it doesn't stay with just that one, the people who are the police officers. So the thing that I see when I see the symbol is I feel like it negates a lot of the things that the Benevolent Association aims to stand for, like maintaining a positive presence in the community we serve to benefit the residents of Springfield Township. I know for a fact that the Springfield Township Benevolent Association does good work. I know that it supports Springfield Little League. I know that I get emails from the high school of the different scholarship offerings, among other positive things. And I guess this is why I'm having so much trouble understanding why I think, the thin blue line flag is associated with the Benevolent Association. The symbol clearly means different things to different people. And I think that regardless as to whether people consider the flag to just represent the support of police officers, it does communicate something more insidious to me. I think my first experience in seeing it was the white supremacist rally in Charlottesville years ago. And I think that my understanding is that the Blue Lives Matter movement was a response to the Black Lives Matter movement. And I feel like the vast majority of people believe that officers' lives have inherent value. I feel like this is communicated again and again. And I think that the sustained narrative for so much of American history with respect to Black lives is you don't matter, which makes the two quite land very, very differently for me. I feel like individuals choosing to display a symbol is one thing, but to have this symbol that is associated with our police department and at the same time with racist movements and anti-democratic groups and inexplicably anti-Capitol Police voices, I don't understand it. And I'm inclined to think that our department is not wanting to be associated with those movements either. I feel like our police department, it's important for it to be our community, part of our community. They are part of our community. And I feel strongly that it needs to represent it accordingly. So I'm just speaking to let you know how I feel. So thank you for listening.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Nicole McInerney, Winmore. Here tonight to make comment about the PBA logo. Start by saying thanks for allowing me this forum. I'd like to open by sharing my opinion on police generally and the Springfield Police specifically. I think to echo what a lot of people said, huge respect and reverence for police officers, growing up with retired Philadelphia police officers in my family, and fully knowing the huge sacrifice that they and their families make, echoing the comments that everyone made here. Felt that every day. It was instilled in me, and I to this day instill it strongly in my kids, despite them being very young. And then specific to the Springfield Police, even though I feel completely new to the Springfield Township, 5 years, which is nothing comparatively to a lot of people here, the police have been to my house 3 times, twice for life-saving reasons. So, abundance of love for all that they've done, and they've been indispensable to me. And then more broadly, I've been trying to get involved with the community, and I last September saw the public perceptions of the police here, the analysis that was done, and I think presented here at the commissioners meeting, and it was really positive. And there were some disparities, racial disparities, and there were some changes that need to be made, but it wasn't drastic. And basically the message takeaway I got was, beyond my personal perceptions, that the community feels really strongly about them. Of course, improvement's always possible. But with all that said, I am one of the people who has been voicing my opinion against the PBA logo since as early as September 2020, when I first reached out via snail mail to Chief Pitco around the Back the Blue rally that I think Kathy Barnett sponsored, and a number of folks. And then I reached out to Jeff Harbison a number of times via email about the logo as well. So I debated going into detail about why I don't like it. I think, a lot of the things have been covered, but the bottom line for me is, regardless of the origins of the flag, bad, good, or otherwise, I do, like others who've spoken, believe it's been co-opted by white supremacists, which is really stinks if it came from a good place, but that's kind of where it is for me. This may very well be a freedom of speech issue, and my feelings are moot, but I still thought it was important that I shared my distaste, because despite, if you see me and my sons around, every police officer I see in their car, I'm going to have my sons go up to them, thank them for their service to them. But I don't allow my kids to go to the auto show, community day, don't allow them to play baseball here, because I don't want to condone that symbol. So I thought it would be important to share that, because on the website, it lists that the purpose of the PBA was to enhance mutual interests that both the PBA and the citizens were sworn to protect. So I wanted to share those thoughts. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am, please. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jenny French at 604 Grace Lane. I wanted to share something, because when I think of the Springfield Police, I think of when my husband killed himself on Labor Day in 2011, and the police came to help me out. They didn't come to interrogate me. They didn't come to, it could have been worse, because I've talked to other people who've lost someone to suicide, and it's not necessarily handled well by the police. And the Springfield Police were amazing. They supported me not only that night till the wee hours, because when I got home, I didn't know what had happened. And they were waiting, and they came over and stuck with me until my family showed up. They were so just, they couldn't have done anything better than they did. I mean, it was not going to be good no matter what happened, but they made it bearable for me. And just that alone makes them exemplary in my eyes. I assume that they're still the same police that they were in 2011. I'm sure nothing has changed in that regard. But the sensitivity that they showed me that night and the next couple of weeks after that, that sensitivity, they need to think about now. And I'm thinking, well, why are they defending? Why did they pick this symbol? And now they're defending it. You know, they're kind of rallying around each other and, okay, we got to have this symbol. And I'm thinking, is it all the trauma they've been through lately? The pandemic, they keep having to go out and help people even if they have COVID. And all the stuff about race that's been happening, are they all traumatized? Are they sticking with the symbol because it helps them get through what they have to do? Maybe. They need to use some sensitivity about where they're coming from and see, maybe we can all support them better. You know, we're talking it up now, but what do we do day to day? Maybe we need to support them a little better, and they need to find a different way to rally around and give themselves strength that they need to do the work that they have to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Craig Williams. I am actually a resident of Cheltenham Township, but I'm reading a statement on behalf of my incredible daughter, who's a resident of Springfield Township, Lauren Camper. My name is Lauren Camper, and I am a Springfield Township resident. I'm also very active in our community as a parent leader in one of our school district parent groups and as a member of the Cheltenham area branch NAACP. About a month ago, I received an envelope in the mail from the Springfield Police Benevolent Association, PBA, that included their emblem of the Blue Lives Matter flag. Frankly speaking, I was so appalled by the flag that I threw the mailer in the trash without opening the envelope. I understand that this flag has different meanings to different people, but to me, that flag has grown to symbolize division in our community at large. And to be honest, it scares me. This flag has been used in conjunction with the slogan Blue Lives Matter. Blue Lives Matter was coined in direct response to Black Lives Matter, as if a comparison can be drawn between a chosen profession and a race of people. Black Lives Matter was an outcry from people of color to draw attention to inequities in policing. Therefore, to say Blue Lives Matter in response to this gives the distinct impression that Black lives are less important than those who are hired to protect and serve us. Further, we all witnessed the white supremacist march in Charlottesville and insurrectionists storm our nation's capital, flying the flag proudly in an outward display of white supremacy and hate. When I walk through my neighborhood and see blue lights illuminating from a home, or the Blue Lives Matter flag flying high, it terrifies me. I automatically fear that hatred will come from these individuals who oftentimes are not police officers themselves, but simply have chosen a side. Police officers have a hard and sometimes thankless job. I respect and appreciate the Springfield Township Police Department. They risk their lives for us every day. However, as with any profession, they are not above criticism. I strongly implore our commissioners, board, and PBA to take into consideration the symbolism that is associated with this flag and how it makes residents, particularly of color, feel. One resident feeling unsafe or unwelcome in this town is one too many. Thank you, and that's from Lauren.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Evan Kleinfelter. I don't have prepared remarks. I did send letters recently to Chief Pitco, as well as the PBA, and as well as submitted a letter to the editor to the Chestnut Hill Local, which will be published tomorrow. It is very hard to get up here and talk about how you feel, but there's nothing more difficult than putting your lives on the line every single day, which is what our officers do. And I want to say from the bottom of my heart and on behalf of my family, thank you for your service to the officers. What I can't do and what I'm not going to do tonight is convince anybody to change their mind. I think we're all pretty, firm in our beliefs here tonight, and I respect that. But what I do want to do is I want to be able to support the PBA. I live in this community. My wife and my wonderful son live in this community. I want to be able to support the wonderful mission that they do, and they do great work. The issue is, in my experience, when I did receive a mailer recently, it did have that logo on it, and immediately that instilled a reaction in me. And I know I'm not alone in that. I know there's many other residents of this community that are not willing to come up here. That doesn't make me better in any way. It's just, that's the reality of it. And what I want to do is be able to support that organization. And that symbol is not letting me support it. Because as Lauren said in her message, when she sees that envelope, it's going in the trash, because that symbol has been tarnished by its history and by how it's currently being used. In addition, I don't know that anybody's mentioned that, the township has given multiple opportunities to the PBA, including offering to pay the full cost for changing the logo and all of the related costs that would be incurred in that. And I just don't understand why an opportunity like that can be put on a silver platter and they wouldn't accept it, because they really have an opportunity to build a better relationship with this community. And right now you're alienating people like me, or you're alienating people like the folks who have talked already. And I know most of them, if not all, would be willing to support this organization. And that's what I hope to do in the future when this logo is changed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Troy Fries. I am a resident of Winmore, and I have to say right off the bat, my wife is Commissioner Ratzvong, but these comments are mine and mine alone. I did not run these through her. So if you do not like them, you hold them against me and not my wife. So first of all, I'd like to say that I fully support the police. I support what they do. I was in the Marines for 18 years. Their job is to put their life on the line on a daily basis. They never know when something's gonna happen, when they just pull somebody over for speeding. They never know who's in the car. And I fully support the original blue line flag on the black background that drapes the coffins of fallen officers. That flag has been around, it's accepted, it's useful, it is a sign of respect. What I can't go for, though, is really a modification of the United States flag. They took the US flag, which as a member of the Marines, I was willing to die for. And they took this flag and they put a blue line over it, they modified it as their own. That's not what I serve for. The police are not the United States. The police are public servants to us, and we shouldn't be putting them up as the same pedestal as the United States flag. Should we hold them to respect? Yes, because of what they do. But we should not be putting them up there as high as they are. And that's really all I have to say is I just hope that they change it to the original blue line flag. That is fully acceptable, and and then I will fully support them. Thank you.
Commissioner Daly.
Mr. Graham, thank you. Just want to compliment you being president. I've watched your meetings. I think you run your meetings very well,
Thank you.
especially in January. I really think you did. It's tough being up there, isn't it?
It is.
And I appreciate this opportunity. Will there be another opportunity for public comment on other township issues after this, or is this just for that?
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up, because at the conclusion of the public comments, we were going to announce that we were going to have, based on the responses that we saw tonight, we were going to have another meeting that was going to open it up so that more residents can speak and not be restricted by the time constraints of us going into our business meeting.
But I meant like potholes and stuff like that. We can talk about that later.
Yeah, if you want.
I have a couple of them. I have a list for Jonathan. I got to give him.
The floor is yours.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Just some of the points, Ms. McInerney, I believe it was, that just spoke. As far as the Back to Blue rally back in October 2020, Kathy Barnett did speak at that meeting, but Michelle Chasis, myself, and others, we organized that rally. And that rally was not to offend anybody. It was to honor our police for the many years of service that they've had here. Commissioners that I served up with up there, I probably, and I'm not big about myself, but we probably hired half that force. We promoted half that force. We know them. So that was in honor of them. And many in this room were there. They didn't say they were there, but they were there at that rally. We had about 300 people there. It was a really nice rally. And we had a lot of folks that did have some opposition that came, but we spoke cordially at them. It was a really nice time. Businesses donated food. We had a food drive. It was a really positive event. And that's what we wanted it to be. And these officers, and we all, every time an officer is sworn in here, we have a big celebration. Cameras are here. People take pictures. Every one of you get a picture with an officer. It's a great event. Their families are here. But the oath that they take is so solemn. And that oath used to be shorter. I mean, it really was. It was very short. And now it includes every type of possible discrimination you can to date, and it will be expanded, I'm sure, in the future. And those officers take that oath solemnly. And if folks are come up here, and I, in all due respect, you're praising the officers for everything except their judgment on this, which they're great at everything except this. So I believe that you have a God-given right to be offended by whatever you believe to be offended with. But there's also other folks that have a different opinion about what that symbol or what the police in general stand for. Back, if I could, just back to Blue rally with Ms. McInerney. When that rally, and this goes to my point, I don't know if it's most about the flag, but the PBA itself. When we had the Back to Blue rally, I had a friend of mine who happens to not be of the same political persuasion as me, but we do get along very well, was contacted by somebody that told them that Michelle and I were poking the bear. Had nothing to do with the symbol, had nothing to do with anything, but we were poking the bear by honoring our police. Now, if you can't honor a group or the police in this day and age, we're doomed. And I just thought that was very odd that we weren't allowed to celebrate and honor our police that we all talk about now are so great. When I think of whatever symbol you want to think of, what the police do, I think of a young man who recently became a police officer in a nearby district. First 2 weeks on the job, my godchild. 2 people were shot. He didn't care who they were. He didn't know if they were the perpetrators. They're bleeding on the street, puts them in his car, takes them to the hospital and saves their life. One example. 2, we all know about the fallen troopers a few weeks ago, one of which I worked with many years ago. They put their lives on the line, helping somebody who was walking on I-95 in the middle of the night trying to save their life. The Philly Stadium the other day, they were honored. This symbol was all over the place at the stadium. It lined the streets at their funeral. So there is a difference of opinion as to the symbol. And third, Officer Christian Wilbur saved my neighbor's life in a snowstorm where he dropped with a heart attack. And we watched it. So this is what they do. But these are the people that we're now saying don't have good judgment on this issue. And I just, as a former commissioner, and you talk about the social media and all that, we're all guilty of social media, we all are. But I venture you to get one disparaging remark that I made, some folks that are gonna come up here and speak now over this last year, but they have been called insurrectionist, sedationist, all kinds of things. Even I saw what Mr. Lee put in the Chestnut Hill Local. I don't know. I want to talk with everybody. We'll sit down and work it out. We said hi to people that I've been political opponents here today. We can't start at that place. But I venture to find a negative comment that your opponent made about you in any way, shape, or form during your campaign. I'll give you $1,000 you can find one that personally attacks you on anything. Mr. Lee, when you put in the Chestnut Hill local, how do I explain it to my children that my feelings for law enforcement and your feelings coincide? And what should I tell my children you feel about me? What do you feel about me for the way I feel about law enforcement? What you have in the Chestnut Hill local? Is that what you feel? I should go home and tell my children what you think of me is what you wrote in the Chestnut Hill local? And others of your surrogates have wrote things on social media to that effect. Yes, you have.
Can you be specific? What are you talking about?
No, you can go back and check yourself.
Okay.
Okay, you can go back and check yourself. But I'm trying to start the point. Let's stop this. Let's just stop this as a community. We have a great community. Mike, you'll know, Mike. We have houses in the gardens going for $540,000. If we have such a horrible township, why are people coming here? They're coming here for our police. They're coming here for our fire services, our public works services. We have to stop this as a community. It's dividing us. I hope the board can work with the PBA and somehow come to a resolution on this, but you might not be able to. But to disparage half the community as this or that because they support law enforcement, it's sad. We're doomed. We're doomed as a township. And I'm gonna tell you, this is working in law enforcement with law enforcement for 25 years, working with every law enforcement in this state, Commonwealth, federal, state. I'm sorry, Eddie, one more thing. We have one of the best police forces in this Commonwealth. And I can say that from my experience, and maybe I'm biased, but being up there and being on the outside seeing it, I think we do. So I hope you consider those when you make your decisions. Thank you. Eddie.
Good evening. My name is Jerome Darga. I'm a resident of the township. That'll be a little hard to follow. I'm trying to be a little less emotional about that. I too was in the Army as a private and as lieutenant. I really like the flag a lot. I also like our police a lot. When I moved here in '09, one of the first things I did was give money to the Montgomery County Fraternal Order of Police. At the time, I wasn't getting any brochures or anything from the Springfield Township Police Association. And I've never gotten one. I don't know why, but I supported Montgomery County Fraternal Order of Police. I came to the police station and asked them, is this legit? You know, I didn't want to get duped and give money to some kind of scam. So big support of the police, and I would gladly give money to the Springfield Township Police Association if I got something in the mail that had some other kind of symbol. I think the symbol is divisive, and I think if it's going to be a Springfield Township Police Association, it should have that or Montgomery County or Pennsylvania or the regular US flag, one of those. And if you're going to make up another symbol, I like the old blue lives before all this last 10, 15 years, because the blue is important. Like Troy was saying, they drape it over the coffins. It's respectful. Blue is the color of the uniform. Back the blue, that sounds good. But that flag is problematic because of all the emotions it brings up on both sides. And I don't see how it unites community other than uniting groups. I wouldn't want to live under a Black Lives Matter flag. I don't want to live under the Blue Lives Matter flag. I want to live under one of those four flags. Thank you.
Thank you. We're getting close. I noticed that there are 4 other speakers. Are you gentlemen, are you speaking? There's 2 other speakers here. We're going to cut it off after this gentleman. I see here that Ms. Fields is here. I'm going to allow her to speak, as I stated earlier in our speak, and then we're going to cut the meeting and go into our general body meeting. However, if you wish to stay and make an additional comments, the board is willing to stay here and listen to those comments We just want to get through our business part, and then we will reopen after Ms. Field speaks for additional comments. Thank you for your patience.
Why can't you do the business later? We're here.
Because this is the decision that the board made previously before we came out, and that is what I announced. And that's what, well, no, I allowed everyone to speak, sir. That's not true. If you can, you weren't in line. I'm not going to argue with you because that's just taking up time for the other speakers. But I announced that earlier. So if you wish to stay after the business meeting, we can go there. So madam, can you please give us your name and you can commence? You can go right ahead.
Hi, my name is Angelina Banks. I am a resident of Winmore. There are a lot of things to be offended by. There's a lot of things that need someone to speak up. I personally see the PBA logo and I'm filled with feelings of strength, pride, honor. This symbol was designed by some of Springfield Township's finest to represent their emotional investment in the PBA when they reformed it. They reformed it, why? To strengthen community relations, to bring back a positive feeling with the community and with the police. So when we're having this conversation, I think discernment's really important. And the process of discernment is within judgment, is going past the mere perception of something and making nuanced judgments about its properties and its qualities. To me, that means overcoming our personal bias. When these gentlemen form this symbol, what do we see? It's a shield, strength, honor, dignity. Blue for police, black for those who have fallen. I am not offended by it at all. The flag itself should not be relegated to the ever-increasing wasteland of political correctness, where the slightest offense mars tender souls. We talk about fear. Fear is getting a 4 a.m. call when you're on the night shift, and there is a person maybe with a gun, you don't know, and your wife is 9 months pregnant, and you can't call her at 4 a.m. to say, honey, I'm walking into a situation and I might not be able to see you again, and I might not be able to hold our baby. Courage is facing that fear and getting on the saddle anyway. I will always be in support of our police. Why? Because they have a job that very few people are ever willing to do. They get up every morning, put on their vest, and go out to serve and protect you, keep you safe, and serve our community. When I see that logo, I am not afraid. When I see that logo, I know I'm protected. Freedom-loving people can trace their roots back to Philadelphia. And that's right where we are. We're the heart, we're the seat of freedom. I believe that these brave men and women who go above and beyond to protect us should have the ability to use whatever symbol they like. And I think it's a really important for us to stop and take a look, because we talk about a lot of what's going on in the country, nationally, this has happened. What's going on in Springfield Township? What's our relationship with our police like here? When's the last time there was an officer-involved shooting here? Does anybody remember? When's the last time there was an IA investigation in Springfield Township into corruption, brutality, any type of racial discrimination in our township? Does anybody know? Not recently? Right, exactly, not recently. So while we are in this space and I can admit there may be some people who have a trauma when they look at this, but it's not a trauma that was born here in Springfield Township. Like Mr. Daly said, we have one of the best police departments in the Commonwealth, one of the best. Some of the internal trauma that may be triggered about this isn't due to them, it's due to something else. And I don't think our police should have to pay the price for someone else's personal trauma. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mike Eganoff, Flower Town. You know, arguing that it should be okay to use a racist symbol because some cops are okay is a ludicrous argument. But I'm not here to make a statement. I want to pose a question. If you have a symbol that clearly a lot of people find offensive, that has been used offensively, and you have a police department that wants unity with its township and wants to be respected, why are the members of that police department not the ones up here fighting to have that removed? Because anything short of that is all lip service.
Thank you. And now our final speaker for this portion of the public comment section will be from Ms. Linda Fields, who is chair of the Montgomery County Black Caucus and is also a member of the Democratic National Convention. Ms. Fields, the floor is now yours.
Hello, Mr. Graham. I would like to acquiesce some of my time to the gentleman that wants to speak because he's very passionate.
Sure.
And I would like for him to speak.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Unlike the other rules, we're going to stick to this.
Okay.
Bizarre.
No, I just wanted to
like
make sure that you had the opportunity. You're welcome. Let me just be clear about my personal position, and then I will speak beyond that. I just want to thank you all for showing up and being here tonight. That speaks volumes. But I also want you to take note the percentage of people here in this room that haven't experienced the trauma of many of the Black people, not just in Pennsylvania, not just in Philadelphia, not just where I live in King of Prussia, not just in Norristown and in Springfield, the people that we don't know that have been traumatized. I love police. I have 3 family members that are police officers and 2 of them that were killed. One of them was killed by a Black person and one of them was killed by a white person. Doesn't matter, they're dead. And crime is crime. And they go out every day not knowing whether they're going to return or not. So I love my police. I salute them. I honor them every time I see them. You can go anywhere if a policeman is in here. And if they ever run across me, the first thing I say is, can I give you a hug? Because I know I don't understand the trauma that you feel every single day. But I do know the pain I feel when I think about my relatives that were killed while they were on duty. Offensiveness. An offense to one is an offense to all. I asked you to scan the room because the percentage of this township is represented in this room right now. You count the white folks and you count the Black folks. That's your percentage. That's real talk. Okay, so you may not know all of the trauma that the Black people don't know what the trauma of white folks, and the white folks don't know the trauma of Black folks, but it is clear, and it's a national statistic, that there's a real problem. And if we deny that, we're delusional. If we deny that, we're wrong. Because everybody should have the comfortability to ask, what have I done wrong? Why have I been stopped? And not fearful of dying. And as a Black mother with 2 Black sons, that is a fear of mine. That's real. And it's a statistical proof that I have a right to fear that way because there's issues nationally, not just here in Springfield, but nationally. People have biases. We have them, you have them, everybody has them. But when it comes to being afraid to drive down the street or drive while Black, it's real. It's scary and it's painful when you've lost someone. I'm here just to say if an offense to one is an offense to all, and if we really, really care, I honor the shield of the badge that police officer wears every single day. I honor these flags, even though many times people say we shouldn't honor it because we're not honored by it, for the work and service that we've given as a people in building this country. But I honor it because that's what we're supposed to do. We're human beings. We're supposed to love one another. And if we need to make a sacrifice over a shield or something that somebody created for whatever reason they created it for, if it's an offense, then acquiesce and show some love, show some consideration. I believe that the police force of 10 years, 20 years ago, in some cases, is even stronger than it is now, because everybody has an issue. And we have to give up certain rights, our rights that we deserve to have, because somebody's offended. So at this point, don't dig in, dig out. Dig out, come together. We're all human. And we may not be right all of the time, but look at the statistics. They're real. They're honest, they're truthful. You have living witnesses in your community now that you can even talk to. I would like to see that happen. I would like to see us be able to talk with one another and say, you know what, let's just get rid of all of it. Because not just Black Lives Matter, not just Blue Lives Matter, but all lives matter. So let's come to some type of agreement. We say we want to be unified. We call this the United States of America, then let it be so. One nation under God is what I like, indivisible, with liberty and justice for who? For all. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Fields, for those comments. As I stated earlier, we're going to close. Commissioner Gillies.
Thank you very much, Mr. Graham. First, before we go further on the meeting, everybody has a right to speak about the agenda item still as part of.
I was just about to announce that.
Okay, because it sounded like they weren't. So that, I think that was the impression everybody got, that you were not going to allow them to speak about agenda items. So they all have that opportunity. Uncomfortable discussion. I don't think any conversation is uncomfortable or should be. They should all be open. They should all be relied to everybody and take both sides equally. You know, it's always one side's digging in and the other side, if you're not coming to me, you're digging in. So we need to bypass that type of dialogue amongst each other. Springfield Township is Springfield Township. It's not everywhere else in this country. We have a very unique society. We have people coming here speaking about the country and what might be going on there. We have black and white, yellow, red, gay, straight. We all get along. There is no need for any division-making processes. We don't need commissioners making nefarious comments about people in the newspaper under the cover of what, a written article as opposed to right here in front of the man. So those things are just, disturbing, number one. Number two, we are a free country. And I would presume if we just left it blank and white, some people would be upset with the symbol. If we left it completely black, some people would be upset with the symbol. If we put a dove, somebody would say it's too religious. If we put something else, somebody would say it's something else. Everybody is going to be disappointed about something in life. Guess what? Get over it. Because it's not something that's going to harm you. The police that we have, I mean, let's go back to history. There have been some horrible things that happened in this country. We agree on that. But there have been some great things that happened in this country, and there have been some bad things. And as Kathy Barnett says, that everybody knows, Good, bad, and ugly, this is the best country on the face of the earth. And racism, if you're racist, get over it, But we don't live in a racist society right now. We live in a society of Springfield residents. Springfield people get along. We play sports together. Are there racist people? Absolutely. And if there are, get over it. If you say, pick out who's racist. Tell me who the racist police officers are. There aren't any. Springfield is a great country, great society. So basically, what we have is one side is very upset and wants it gone. The other side wants to stick with the police officers. Now, you say you want to come to a conclusion. Will this board accept the conclusion that remains as it is? I'm asking that as a question. If you sit with the police and you get the community in a very large amount, will you accept the symbol as it is? Because it clearly is not what it's being portrayed to be because of 1951. We're not the same country. It's not 1776, and it's not 1600, which was not even America. It was the English doing whatever happened back then. So we need to understand that we are a united society, and Springfield is full of good people. We live side by side, and we thoroughly enjoy our police force. And if one of them does something wrong, just like any other citizen, then they get punished. And this symbol is, I think Ms. Banks said it as well as anybody could, what it stands for. So I really think what we have is a loggerhead, and it's going to be very difficult for either position to move because of the situation, the way you guys put us here. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. We want to.
I'd like to respond just because there was comments directed at me directly.
Sure, Commissioner Lee.
So Neil, I just want to bring your attention to the article, which I'm assuming you're referring to. So as you can imagine, I wrote a longer response to the Chestnut Local. Obviously, when you write an article, not everything is printed. They pick out certain things, and I'll read the exact words that I assume that you're indicating is inflammatory. So for time's sake, I'll spare you the positive part, but I think this is what you're referring to. I'm sorry. Yes, just for time's sake. I'll read directly what I think you're referring to as inflammatory that you're taking personal. However, given the timing of its creation and popular usage to widely diminish the importance of the Black Lives Matter movement, as well as its close affiliation with white supremacist beliefs, I would still implore our police members of the PBA to reconsider again adopting a less divisive logo that still exemplifies the honor and inherent danger of law enforcement. So I'm assuming your affiliation with white supremacist beliefs. And I'm not implying in any way that, okay.
I asked at the beginning, excuse me, Commissioner Lee, I asked at the beginning of the meeting that we have to be respectful of every comment that is being said. We understand that these are very, some people don't see with the same vision that other people are seeing, but we're asking you to be respectful. Please hold your comments and from shouting out. Thank you. Mr. Commissioner Lee, the floor is now yours. You had your opportunity, Mr. Gilly. The floor is now yours, Commissioner Lee. The floor is now Commissioner Lee's. Please observe the decorum of this.
Just said go ahead. I'll let him ask one question. Go ahead.
The question is, if Mr. Lee is now going to speak at the end of the conversation, as opposed to when he was asked by Mr. Daly, will other people have a chance to get up and speak to Mr. Lee's comment?
And for the third time, I stated.
I have no objection to that.
To the third time, I stated as president of this board, the public comments will be closed until after the business meeting is until after the business meeting is concluded. Then the board will open the meeting back up for public comments. So Did you allow him to make his statement, Mr. Lee?
I did.
All right, do you have, the floor is still yours?
Well, I'd like,
Do you
yeah,
have
I'd like
to
to finish my
continue?
statement.
Go right ahead.
And I'm making a statement because it was
I understand.
two people directed at me. So-
I understand.
So I'm not sure where you're getting that implication. That is not my intention. If you think I'm saying that anyone who has a different meaning of this, of only a positive meaning, that I'm saying is a white supremacist, that's a real leap. I'm not saying that. And I've said it repeatedly, both publicly and privately, and to the members of the PBA. I understand that if you have a belief that this symbol means respect and love and support for the police, I get that. We're talking about what we're assigning meaning to. We're all assigning meaning to it. And people have spoken eloquently about what it means to them. It's not going to translate to everyone. I totally get that. My father was a Philadelphia police officer. He escorted Daniel Faulkner's widow down the aisle to her funeral. I was surrounded by police growing up. Tons of respect, family, friends, police that were killed in Philadelphia. I'll put my chops on respect for law enforcement against anyone. No group owns that. And with any group, there can be improvements made. There can be reforms. There can be legitimate criticisms. There can be legitimate growth and change over time. Full support saying, I back it no matter what. Don't criticize them. That is not support. That's not real support. Because the police department, no group, the PBA, it is not a monolith. They're made up of individuals. I have tremendous respect for what we have here. We are privileged that we even have this discussion. We're not talking about police officers being charged. We're not talking about unjustified shootings. We have a luxury that in our township, we're not talking about it. I'm saying we have a luxury that we can debate this, that it's of importance. So I have full respect for what they do. It doesn't mean that I have to agree with and have a difference of opinion on it. Right?
I don't answer, I don't want to.
Okay, well, my point is that there can be legitimate disagreements and arguments. And a blanket, you can't say anything negative about the police, or we don't support any reforms. Well, some of those reforms actually make the lives better for police, protect police. So we can have that discussion in good faith. I didn't make any blanket statement calling anyone a white supremacist. I said the flag has been affiliated with white supremacists. That's okay. Well, you emailed me today and I will respond to you.
Months ago, everyone else except you and Commissioner Graham responded to me on either side of this issue. And I live in your ward. And you have not respect to answer either one of my emails. You mentioned about having a conversation, but you didn't want to have that conversation.
Oh, I received your email today and I will respond.
And what about the one from over and over?
I don't recall getting that one.
Okay, so as I stated, I want to thank everyone for this part of the public comments. We're going to close public comments. Yeah, you got to allow me to get there. I'm going to close the public comments for this time unless you have a comment concerning agenda items that are on the agenda. Yes, sir.
Speaking about white supremacy in the Chestnut Hill local. So he needs to sit there and deny it all anymore.
I just read you my email that I sent to the Chestnut local. Word from my email. I don't, okay.
September, you said it. You don't do that. Bullcrap down in Congress.
Okay, that's it. So this part of the public comment is concerning the Springfield Township PBA is over with. Are there any public comments on the other agenda items listed on the agenda? Commissioner Daly. Yes, sir. All right, seeing none, we're going to move on to the business. Before we do, I just want to publicly, once again, acknowledge the Cheltenham NAACP for coming to the meeting tonight. I want to publicly announce the members of the executive committee of the Cheltenham area NAACP branch. I also see the president of the Willow Grove branch, Tony Davis, in the hallway. I just want to acknowledge you for coming out. State Representative Napoleon Nelson, I want to thank you also. In addition to the representative from Congresswoman Madeline Dean's office, thank you, Coach Chiba, thank you for coming out. To our former commissioners, Jim Daly and Commissioner Bob Gillies, I want to thank you for your time, for taking the time out of your busy schedule and coming out and commenting on this. We're now going to move on to the business of our committee reports. Having said that, the first on the agenda is me as chairman of the Cultural Resources Committee. I do not have a report this evening. However, I do have a resolution or a notice of resignation concerning our township tax collector. Late this afternoon, deputy tax collector. Thank you, Michael. Keep me straight, keep me straight. Late this afternoon, I received the attached letter from Bonnie Davis announcing her resignation as the deputy tax collector for Springfield Township. To the extent that the board is inclined to accept Mrs. Davis's resignation, the following motion should be made and a vote should be taken. Under the cover letter of August the 13th, 2022, the Board of Commissioners was informed that Bonnie Davis, Deputy Tax Collector, has found it necessary to resign her appointed position. Therefore, I move that the Board of Commissioners accept the resignation of Bonnie Davis as Deputy Tax Collector effective April the 13th, 2022. The township's new tax collector, Joelle Kleinman, has been informed of Mrs. Davis's decision, and it is in the process of selecting a new deputy tax collector that will be confirmed by the Board of Commissioners at a later date. That is my motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Are there any comments or remarks concerning the motion?
I have one comment. I just wanted to be known that the deputy tax collector's resignation was a result of the board asking her to do so.
Are there any other comments or remarks? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those that oppose, please record a unanimous vote. That concludes my report, and we will now move on to the chairman of our community development. I'm sorry, the chair of our community development committee, Baird Standish, was not able to be here this evening because he was feeling under the weather. Therefore, his report will be presented by Commissioners James Lee and Commissioners Susie Razaval. Commissioner Lee, I believe you are first.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll read Commissioner Stanza's first two items. First is Resolution 1566 regarding the subdivision lot line change. I move that the Board of Commissioners adopt resolution number 1566, a resolution granting preliminary final subdivision approval for the Pisani subdivision lot line change involving the properties located at 811 and 813 Pleasant Avenue in Winmore. The subject of the lot line change is to adjust the common boundary line between the two parcels in order to permit detached garage located behind the home at 811 Pleasant Avenue to be transferred to the property at 813 Pleasant Avenue. That is my motion.
We have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Are there any comments or remarks concerning the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those that oppose, please note a unanimous vote.
Second item, resolution 1567 regarding land development at Flowertown Swim Club. I move that the Board of Commissioners adopt resolution number 1567, a resolution granting preliminary final land development approval to the Flowertown Swim Club. 1526 to 1528 Bethlehem Pike, Flowertown, for the construction of a new 3,200 square foot clubhouse building and related improvements. Prior to recording the land development plan, the swim club is required to revise the plans to resolve all issues set forth in the township engineer's review letter dated January 10th, 2022, including the installation of stormwater management improvements to manage runoff from the proposed new construction. That is my motion.
We have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those, and are there any remarks or comments to the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those that oppose, please report a unanimous vote.
Standing in for Commissioner Standish. The next item is the land development at Morris Arboretum pursuant to section 512.1 of the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code. I move that the Board of Commissioners waive the formal land development review process for the Morris Arboretum of the University of Pennsylvania in order to permit the placement of 784 square foot modular building at the Bloomfield Farm property, 301 to 303 Northwestern Avenue in Erdenheim. The building will be utilized to conduct an on-site testing of seeds and other plant life that are propagated and grown at the facility. In accordance with representations made by the Arboretum, the building will be located on site for up to 5 years for research purposes. That is my motion.
We have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Are there any questions or comments concerning the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those that oppose, please report a unanimous vote.
And the last item is an announcement of a land development workshop. The Board of Commissioners is pleased to announce that it'll be conducting a municipal government workshop to educate the general public about land development review processes. The workshop will describe the roles and responsibilities of the local and county planning commissions, the zoning hearing board, and the Board of Commissioners as delegated by the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code. This free workshop will be conducted on Saturday, May 21st, 2022 at the Springfield Township Administration Building, beginning at 9 a.m. Anyone interested in attending the workshop is asked to pre-register beginning Monday, April 18th, 2022 by visiting the Springfield Township website. That is the announcement and the final item for Commissioner Standish.
Thank you, Commissioner Razavoff, and also to Commissioner Lee for standing in for Commissioner Standish while he's under the weather. The floor will now recognize, the board will now recognize the chairman of our Environmental Resources Committee, Commissioner Peter Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm reporting on the recycling for the month and pleased to announce that for the month of March 2022, Springfield Township residents recycled 200.8 tons of materials with a householder participation rate of 78.4%. The net cost for the month was $15,166.54. That is my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Wilson. Next on the agenda, we will have the chairman of the Public Works and Facilities Committee, Commissioner Michael Maxwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Please bear with me. I was given a lengthy book this evening. First is a bid for Mermaid Park Trail and Stream Bank Project. On March 10th, 2022, bids were received for the Mermaid Pond Trail and Stream Bank Stabilization Project. The project includes the construction of a perimeter walking trail, ADA compliant concrete ramps, a pedestrian bridge, stream bank stabilization work, and landscaping. Qualified bids were received from 2 contractors and ranged in price from $391,550 to $494,032. Both bids exceeded the project estimate, and the township engineer believes that more competitive bids may be obtained by separating the trail construction from the stream bank work and introducing a series of bid alternates for consideration. Therefore, I move that the Board of Commissioners reject all bids on March 10, 2022 for the Mermaid Park Trail and Stream Bank project, and to authorize the advertisement of 2 bids describing separate and distinct scopes of work as follows. Walking trail and handicap ramps with add alternates for the construction of a pedestrian bridge, asphalt paving material, type and trail width. Second one, stream bank stabilization with add alternates for landscaping. The revised bid process is intended to present contractors with a scope of work that is tailored to their specialty and encourage more competitive bids. That is my motion.
We have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Are there any comments or remarks concerning the motion? Seeing none, please signify if you're in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those that are opposed, please signify by saying nay. Please report a unanimous vote.
My next item is the 2022 Highway Resurfacing Program. I move that the Board of Commissioners authorize the advertisement of bids for the township's 2022 highway resurfacing program. A total of 12 streets are proposed to be milled and resurfaced in 2022, and the estimated cost to the township is $364,228. A complete list of the streets to be resurfaced is available in the office of the township manager. That is my motion.
We have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Are there any remarks or comments concerning the motion?
Question. When does that work start?
Typically doesn't get done until August,
Okay.
but we'll put it out to bid almost immediately. And depending upon how the weeks work out, we may be able to award it in May, probably June.
Okay. And the streets we're hitting, is that pretty set that we can distribute that list to the public?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other addition, comments, or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those that are opposed, please signify by saying nay. Please record a unanimous vote.
Next item is used equipment auction. In accordance with section 1501 of the Pennsylvania First Class Township Code, I move that the Board of Commissioners authorize the sale of one 1994 Wells Cargo enclosed utility trailer via the municipal online public auction site. The equipment was donated to the township for emergency management purposes and is no longer needed. Any interested bidders are encouraged to visit www.municipbid.com to place their bid. That is my motion.
There's a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second? Are there any comments or questions concerning the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those that are opposed, please signify by saying nay. Please record a unanimous vote.
Next one is resolution number 1568, Community Development Block Grant. The Montgomery County Community Development Block Grant Program provides funding to local municipalities to complete projects that address certain national objectives, including benefits to low and moderate income neighborhoods, the elimination of slum or blight, and an urgent community need. Therefore, I move that the Board of Commissioners adopt resolution 1568, a resolution authorizing an application to the 2022 Montgomery County Community Development Block Grant Program for the project known as the 1200 Willow Grove Avenue Blight Removal Project. The funding will be utilized to remove the former rectory building located at the former Seven Dollars Church property so that the area may be repurposed as a parking lot and stormwater management facility to serve the township's recreation center. That is my motion.
We have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
Second. Oh, I can't, sorry.
Can't second
Yeah.
Second.
I just wanted to come down. I was that excited.
We'll let you
I
operate.
tried. I tried.
We'll let you drive it.
Mike, do you have any questions?
It was Jonathan. He threw his voice through me.
We have, the motion has been seconded. Are there any questions or remarks concerning the motion?
Mr. President, I just have one observation or question. My recollection is that this grant, if it is approved, it would not become effective until 2023. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's the funding cycle for the federal funds.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or remarks? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those that oppose, please say nay. Please record a unanimous vote.
Okay, and my next one, resolution 1569 for Arbor Day. I move that the Board of Commissioners adopt resolution number 1569, a resolution proclaiming Saturday, April 30th, 2022 as Arbor Day in Springfield Township. As part of the township's annual Arbor Day celebration, the Springfield Township Shade Tree Commission will be conducting an Arbor Day ceremony on April 30th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Springfield Township Municipal Campus. The ceremony will include a raffle for a free tree. 20 trees will be raffled off. Pre-registration is required for this event. Residents can sign up via the township website at www.springfieldmonco.org or in person at the township building. Registration runs from April 14th through April 22nd. In addition, the Free Library of Springfield Township will be conducting various tree-oriented activities during the week of April 25th, including a special storytime presentation about trees. The Board of Commissioners urges all citizens to join Springfield Township Shade Tree Commission to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to plant new trees. That is my motion.
We have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Are there any questions and or comments concerning the motion?
I just have one observation, Mr. President. In the past, this was a first come, first serve event for the trees, the 20 trees. It's my understanding that this year it'll be a lottery. And so you register, and then prior to the event, the hat will be drawn to see who wins the trees.
You mean numbers from the hat?
From the hat, yeah. Now's your chance.
The guy sitting at the table. Sorry, Brandon.
Yeah, he'll threw you right under the bus, Brandon.
You have to go to Ticketmaster. They'll be sold out in 60 seconds.
Can we have the drawing live? So everybody can see.
So you won't get beat
We
up.
can call the auditors in to observe, make sure it's done.
Oh,
Any other comments or
And,
remarks?
and also, she mentioned the fact we'll be naming a tree as part of that.
Yeah, I was just
celebration
gonna
as
ask if I could
Oh, yeah.
make that announcement.
Sure, go right ahead,
Mike,
Commissioner.
yes, no, Mike?
You can, just
Okay.
go in the comments.
So for those in the crowd, this year's tree will be dedicated after former Commissioner Glenn Shum for all of his years of service to the Springfield Township community.
Seeing no additional comments, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those that oppose, please say nay. Please record a unanimous vote.
My last announcement, I never thought I'd get here, is for 38402 Halls Lane. I move that the Board of Commissioners direct the Township Manager to include on the Board of Commissioners workshop and business meeting agendas in May, a discussion regarding the possible acquisition and or condemnation of all or a portion of the 4.79 acre parcel owned by MEH Investments at 38402 Halls Lane, Erdenheim, for parks and or recreation purposes. That is my motion.
We have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Are there any comments or remarks? Comments or questions concerning the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those that oppose, please signify by saying nay. Please record a unanimous vote.
That concludes my report for this evening, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Maxwell. We will now hear from the Chairman of the Administrative, Physical Affairs and Zoning Committee, Commissioner Jonathan Cobb.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, regarding the bill listing, I move that the Board of Commissioners approve the March check reconciliation in the amount of $408,214.69 and the April bill listing in the amount of $809,414.88. That's my motion.
We have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Are there any comments or questions concerning the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those that oppose, please signify by saying nay. Please record a unanimous vote.
Thank you. And regarding this month's zoning hearing board agenda, the zoning hearing board will meet on Monday, April 25th at 7 p.m. in this room at the Springfield Township Building, where they will hear 4 applications. The first being from William and Kathy Murphy, owners of a vacant lot known as parcel 5200-0302. The applicant is seeking relief as it relates to slope on the property and dimensional requirements of an A residential district. The applicants contend that the approved plan is exempt from the steep slope requirements of the zoning ordinance, and the proposed dwelling does not require a 40-foot front yard setback. The property is zoned within the A residential district of Ward 6 of the township. Second application is from Karen Riveros, owner of the property located at 7809 Beach Lane in Winmore, PA. The applicant has requested a dimensional variance to allow for the installation of a 76 square foot accessory building 2.66 feet from the rear property line. The required rear yard setback is 7 feet, and this property is zoned within the C residential district of Ward 5. Third applicant is from Michael Wilson, owner of the property located at 116 Redford Road in Orland, PA. The applicant is seeking a dimensional variance, requesting the approval to construct an addition to the existing single-family dwelling that will reduce the required 10-foot side yard setback to 5 feet. In addition, the aggregate side yard setback will be reduced from 31 feet to 21 feet in width. And that property is zoned within the B residential district of Ward 3. The final application is from Daniel and Megan Bangert, owners of the property located at 8401 Henry Way in Glenside. The applicants are seeking dimensional variance, requesting the approval to construct an 844 square foot deck to the rear of the existing single-family dwelling that will increase the building coverage on the property to 16.6% of the total lot area, where the property is limited to a maximum of 15% building coverage. That property is zoned within the AA residential district of Ward 7. Again, that zoning hearing board meeting will be held in this room on Monday, Monday, April 25th at 7 p.m. And that's my motion. Or that's my report.
Is that the conclusion of your reports? Thank you, Commissioner Cobb. Next, we will hear from the chairman of the Public Safety Committee, Commissioner James Lee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report this evening, but I will just make a comment that it's good to see a lot of people in the room. Our meetings are the best when people are engaged, even when uncomfortable, and I'm grateful that we have so many people that care about the township.
Thank you, Commissioner Lee. Last but certainly not least, we will hear from the chairman of our Parks and Recreational Resources Committee, Commissioner Susanna Resavan.
Wow, a little extra flair today. I technically don't have a report, but I did want to share that there is a movement to put a scoreboard over at Veterans Park. And as part of them doing that, they intend to host some sort of opportunity to hear from any neighbors who are interested for the wonderful Springfield girls softball program over there. So just a heads up on that. If you're interested, I just want to be sure people are heard. Otherwise, I have no report.
Thank you, Commissioner Rassaval. That concludes our committee reports for the evening. And as I stated earlier, the board is now once again open to hearing public comments for our agenda items this evening. The floor is now open for any additional public comments that you may want to have. Commissioner Daly.
If I could ask, what kind of tree did you give Glenn? Because I'm thinking Mr. Lee wants to give me the poison ivy.
Poison oak, only the best.
Poison oak, there you go. Just a few items in the township. On Springfield Way and Hawes Lane, there is a giant pothole that has been there for months, and it's on the apron. I talked to somebody at the school district months ago, still there. It's deep. Somebody's going to hurt themselves, and you'll bottom out it's huge. It was there the other day, unless they filled it. So I know Public Works can take a look at it. It's big. As you come down Springfield Way next to 309.
I'm familiar with it.
It's big.
I believe it's on Springfield Way, though. It's a school district property.
Well, if Public Works can take a look at it, and if it's theirs, if someone from your side can. There's two trees well, if you look at 501, 503 Poplar in the back of the creek, there's a tree that's kind of like going to cause some damming. You take a look at that. And in the gardens, there's a couple leaning telephone poles. So just if you could take a look at that. And then just briefly with respect to Mr. Lee, we respectfully disagree. I read the article again. We have a different take on the article. I was actually sent that article by some folks in the audience. I looked at it. That was my impression. We'll respectfully disagree. And I'd be happy to have a conversation with you, a cup of coffee, to talk anything about the remarks I mentioned earlier with specifics. Be happy to anytime. And with that, and also in the Chestnut Hill local, the symbol is all over the Chestnut Hill local. So if folks are offended by it, and I'm not saying you shouldn't be, you might want to speak to the Chestnut Hill local. And it's in like 3 places on their article. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lee. Commissioner Daly.
You're very welcome.
My apologies, sir. Please identify yourself and your address, please.
Alan Gary, Orland. I know. That's all right, though. So I do want to speak about the PBA logo. I'd much rather be speaking about stormwater infrastructure that affects my property specifically from Paper Mill Road in Edan. But instead, I'll use my time to talk about the logo. Also want to apologize to Commissioner Lee that I spoke out of turn earlier. I emailed every single commissioner here over a month ago, had great dialogue with some of you, and I really appreciate those of you who took the time to respond to me. And I was a little disappointed that my own ward commissioner and President Commissioner Graham never responded to me. So it's disappointing because, I wanted you to hear where I was coming from about this issue. And I was looking forward to hearing where you were all coming from as well. I wanted to speak earlier, but I really wanted to not have an emotional response. So I decided to wait. With that being said, we heard a lot tonight about this flag being flown at various, events, rallies, at the insurrection. So is that flag over your shoulder, Commissioner Lee, the American flag. And rightfully so, you display that proudly here today. Just because a flag or an emblem is used for an unintended purpose doesn't mean that its intended purpose should be disregarded. So just as you would never do that with the American flag flying proudly over your shoulder, we're asking that you don't do that with this emblem as well. Because to be honest, we also mentioned, was brought to our attention earlier about, the stress that officers endure doing this job. We're in a time where line of duty deaths are at an all-time high. Police suicide is at an all-time high. And to be honest, we can all talk about how this emblem makes us all feel. It's not for us. It's for them. It's for the people who put on a badge and a uniform. Full disclosure, I have done that before, and I proudly lead women and men that still do so today. This emblem is not for us. It's for them, and they have a right to display this emblem and use that as their emblem. Right? So we can all sit here and it's a shame. And I really do believe that it does provoke a response, emotional response from members of this community. And that is very unfortunate. And I hope that instead of, trying to convince the PBA they should change their logo, maybe we should have conversations around what this logo really means to them. And we can appreciate that and give them the respect and the ability to display this logo because it's for them. It's not for any of us. Thank you.
Before we go to our next speaker, I just wanted to reply to the gentleman. I didn't receive your email a month ago, and it could be, if you noticed, last month I was hospitalized. I was not able to be at last month's meeting for the public workshop or for the meeting. If you would resend it to me again, I will make it a point to respond to your email. Please send it again. Thank you.
Commissioner Graham, real quick as well, just to
sure,
clarify, I looked, your email was last night, not today, so I appreciate that. And I did not receive the earlier one. I mean, I would not leave a matzo ball hanging out like that and have zero response. I mean, like I know your message last night was sharing your views with anyone. It wasn't necessarily a question, but so on days my wife works, I'm not built for speed, but I will respond.
Yes, ma'am.
Mary Ellen Reeves, North Hills. I was going to say a lot similar to what the gentleman that just spoke said about the flag. And, Mr. Graham, I have really gone out of my way to listen to you, the local NAACP branch. I sat on your Zoom meeting that you had. I was privileged to grow up the street in Ambler, Pennsylvania, which at the time, I'm 53, was pretty much half white and half black. And I'm not going to presume to say that people of different ethnicities do not have different experiences, because that's a lie, right? But when you grow up in a community where people are not saying, you're a racist, you're a racist. I mean, we saw here when someone mentioned the word racist, I think it was more white people that started screaming about, yes, you are, you're racist. This has become divided between Democrat and Republican lines. I mean, let's be honest, okay? But this is where this has gone. I don't believe Democrats are inherently racist. I don't believe Republicans are inherently racist, nor do I believe independents. I would appreciate this conversation to keep going because you know what? We elected President Obama overwhelmingly had a white vote. I don't want to think that we live in a racist country, a racist township. But again, racist is a little different than prejudice because people do have prejudices. Some people don't like me because I'm tall. I mean, that's the fact of the matter. So, when we use divisive terms, white supremacy, racist, this, that, ugly terms, nothing gets solved. And I think the emotions of this community has been ramped up so high that nobody's even willing to have a conversation about the real issue here. I believe a lot of us in the audience have Judeo-Christian values, or maybe another religion. Aren't we all God's children? Aren't we made in the image of God? Then how am I any better than anybody else here? Or you, or you? We're not. Your jobs, your roles don't define you. Your beliefs don't define you. We just have to come together and have a conversation and not make it so ugly. And a lot of this is fueled, as it was said earlier, by social media. And I respectfully ask that the members of this board, maybe if they see ugly comments on social media, try to ratchet that down, because you are respected and elected members of the community. I appreciate your time this evening. I would appreciate to continue this conversation about the police. We all here agree that the police do a great job. But let's not pretend there's not differences between people, ethnicities, parties, religions. There are. But it's gotten really ugly in Springfield Township. And we all know it. We all know it. It's not a joke, right? It's not hiding. Nobody's hiding this. We're looking to you as the elected leaders for your help. So I'm requesting that we have this conversation, we continue this conversation, and we elevate this conversation to a level where it is not ugly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ray McMahon. I've been in Springfield since 1973. I am a combat veteran, Army. And lastly, but certainly not least, I gave 30 years of my life to Springfield Township and retired here as a sergeant. So now it shouldn't be any surprise in the room about where I'm coming from. It seems to me that there were a lot of things done wrong here with this issue, if there is an issue. First of all, if you want to have a conversation with someone and you want to engage them and you'd like to have an exchange of ideas, would that be the first thing you would do is go on social media and call them a racist? Go on social media and affiliate them with white supremacy? It doesn't seem to me that you're going to accomplish much doing that. And that's exactly what happened here. Did anyone on this board speak to the police prior to this becoming an issue?
Yes.
The answer is no.
The answer is yes.
Absolutely not. It
The
was
answer
never
is
an issue,
definitely
sir.
yes, but go ahead.
I
My
thought I wasn't going to
apologies.
be interrupted.
My apologies for interrupting you.
Thank you. This became an issue when the police had the audacity to put thin blue line. Let us understand now, which issue are the commissioners going to address? There's two. The thin blue line is not Blue Lives Matter. I don't care how many times you say that. I don't care how many times you affiliate the two. They are not the same. Those people who want to somehow degrade the thin blue line have taken to calling it Blue Lives Matter. That's not the case. And I don't know of any police officer anywhere that believes that. Okay. Now we go back to the thin blue line. This didn't pop up last year. It didn't pop up 50 years ago. It popped up in the 1890s. It's been used. And it has nothing but respect for those who came before us. That's all it has to do. So there are people that want to say things, and I guess they believe that if you say something enough, eventually it becomes the truth. Well, that isn't the case. The police seem to be on trial tonight. They weren't here to defend themselves. Why are they on trial? Why are they being attacked? They're a nonprofit organization. All they want to do is fundraise for the benefit of the municipality. So someone decides that this is racist. Someone decides that they're white supremacist. And here we are. We're deciding this. So the fact of the matter is, if you really want to engage people, we all get, oh wait, I want to engage and I want to be involved and I want to help people. Call them a name first. You're guaranteed to get nothing out of them except nothing. And that's where you are. So this is completely a non-issue. I believe that in the end, if you polled the majority of people who actually live in Springfield Township, they're going to tell you that they have nothing but respect for their police.
that they truly believe that these good people that go out and do great things every day are racist when they go home. They are somehow nasty people when they take their uniform off and they go home. That's not the case. If they're good people when they're at work, they're good people when they go home. And that's not going to change, no matter how many names you call them. It's not going to change.
Thank you. Next. Let's let the public comments go through first, and then we can, I'll have the commissioners do that.
Hi, Angelina Banks, Winmore. Thank you for the opportunity to speak again. One thing that I wasn't able to mention is I think we need to be really careful opening the door to cancel culture in Springfield Township, because once it starts, there is no end. There were many statements made by different people here today. And just to provide a little context, is you should, everybody should know some of the main principles that some of the speakers feel and they believe in. There are multiple speakers here today that have already made the statements as an absolute fact that regardless of how you view yourself, all white people are white supremacists. There were people here today who spoke, regardless of how you view it, who believe there's only two races, white or black, and everything else is just a degree of whiteness. So today, they're coming for the police. Tomorrow, who are they going to come for? Are they going to come for you? Are they going to come for you? Is your whiteness on the board an offense to them? What's next in the cancel culture? I think that we need to really just stop giving in to the cries of racism and really understand what's driving that. Maybe people are scared. Maybe people are traumatized. So I'm volunteering myself to be somebody in the township who's willing to work with the Board of Commissioners to have a dialogue with anybody in the township who has these feelings, and anyone who wants to work through this and really kind of understand other opinions besides their own. Because canceling things that may offend us is not the answer. Because if that's the case, there's signs up and down my block that offend me that I would love to be taken down. But I respect their right to have their opinion, and I would never try to infringe on anybody's personal rights. Thank you.
No. Hi, Michelle Chisitis, Orland, PA. You probably knew the PA part. I have a couple of things I want to say, and I'm going to try to just stay calm and not get emotional. First, I cannot speak, nor will I attempt to speak to how different people live their lives. I would no more appreciate someone is making an assumption about me because I am female as much as I would about someone saying she's, Shanny Irish or she's German or she's a Mick or something. Those same people that would offend me if they said that I was one of those things, if they called me a woman or they called me a descendant of Irish immigrants or German immigrants or whatever the case may be. In my case, they were Lithuanian, but they are very quick to make assumptions about my life, who I am, how I think, and what I feel based on the fact that my skin is white. I'm going to again have a respect to agree to disagree with Mr. Lee's comments in the paper, in his email response to the article in the paper. I was very offended. I was beyond being offended. I cannot believe that an elected official of this township, we all have say who's up here on the Board of Commissioners, and an elected official of this township who claims to want to unite the community, who claims to have a very strong affiliation with peace and love and all things fuzzy and warm, would make such an irresponsible, inaccurate, and inflammatory remark. If I were to make a similar remark about a person of color in here or a person of Asian descent in here, I would have people protesting at my house, shouting rude names through my window. And yet you found that completely appropriate for you to make that response in the form of an email and have that published in the paper. My first thing. My next thing is that I will say something that may, and I don't, pretend to speak for anybody in here. I am a proud member of a blue family. My father's a police officer. Many people in my family are police officers. I have many cousins, friends, you name it, police officers. Never in the history of my entirety of my life, and I'm a little bit older than Mary Ellen, I'm 56, has that flag ever meant anything but pride, courage, and gratitude for the men and women who wear the uniform on the job presently or who have passed away either in the line of duty or after serving their community, wherever that community was. What I think has happened, and I'm not going to speak about national things or national numbers, what I think has happened here in our tiny little bedroom community of Springfield is that that symbol is a vehicle and has been hijacked as a vehicle to keep this community divided. I think it's like let's find something that we can instill division, that we can instill hatred, we can instill fear, not to ever speak about someone's experience. I may be traumatized by clowns, and I'm not being disrespectful of someone else's trauma. There may be a trauma that I alone know that I have issue with, that I can't share with him. I can't explain to Roy that you have no idea what that does to me. That doesn't give me the right to go around and try to defame people who don't share my experience. I feel like there are members of this Board of Commissioners who have hijacked that symbol with a singular intention to defy this community, to disrespect our police, to demoralize our police department, and keep the division, to create division where there is none. Do we have problems in this township? Absolutely. Do we have members in this community who are racist, who are prejudiced, who are misogynist? Take your pick. I mean, we have a lot of isms. But for the most part, the fact that we're standing up here and every single one of you just talked about stormwater resolutions, planting trees. We're not talking about how many people have died in our community, how many drive-by shootings there were. I grew up in that neighborhood. I grew up in the neighborhood where there were drive-by shootings. I thank God every day that I live here. That's why I ran for commissioner. And with all due respect to John, I don't think that my job, I would have done a better job than him, but I know I bring something to the table. Now, it wasn't my time. And I pray that you, God bless you. I want you to do nothing but good things for the community, as I want you all to. But I think there are members of the board who have hijacked that symbol and are using it to create division. And as long as that stays, don't you dare talk about how much you are grateful to our police department, because you're talking on one side how much you love and respect them and slapping them in the face on the other side. That's all I have to say.
All right. I want to thank everyone for all of their comments and their opinions and their views. That is what I think the fortitude and the courage of this board was in having the majority of the board wanted to have these uncomfortable conversations. And this was the start, the first of many. So having said that, there's been many members of the board that stated that they wanted to have comments concerning this. So I will open the public comments up to the members of the board. Does anyone wish to say something? Commissioner Maxwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. McMahon, 30 years. Thank you for your service to the township. My wife has lived here all her life, and she has told me numerous times what a wonderful police officer you are. I don't know if you've bribed her, but that's what I hear. In your comments, you had asked that if any of us had talked to the police officers. I'm not going to speak for anybody up here. I'm going to speak for myself. I've been on this board for about 6.5 years now. I can remember on this, before I was even on this board, that I would walk in, and sometimes I would walk in with Mr. Daly. And the first thing I would see Mr. Daly do is say hi to the police officers, ask them how their new cars are doing. There was always some sort of form of respect. When I became a member of the board, I made it a point to make sure that at some point I was always on that side of the building. Concerning this matter, I have had probably over 10 individual meetings with the PBA president and vice president. I have spent countless, in that most recent Monday, I was back there for 45 minutes before a workshop talking to them. I have spent multiple nights before meetings down the hallway, just getting to know these gentlemen and women, their families, what they like to do. I have never seen anybody on this board back there with me. I know I'm back there. You can ask them, I'm back there. I understand, as I said in the Chestnut Hill Local, that the symbol may offend people. I also understand that it was used improperly. I also understand that there were intolerable acts from police officers, from Rodney King to George Floyd. We've all seen it. You can't deny it. And I hear it from everybody, both sides. But to me, I still give them the respect that they deserve. So my position on this is that I've probably felt that I was the only one that was going to stand by them, because I think it would be very bad that our police department would watch our meetings and think that nobody on this board stands with them. I know that it would make me feel really bad if I was, you know, as I sit up here to say that people don't stand with me as a commissioner. At some point, you have to have some sort of glimmer of hope. I don't think anybody on this board has had the conversations with these gentlemen of their families, their family dynamics, and what was their intention of the symbol. It's a very heartfelt conversation. I urge anybody here to have that heartfelt conversation, not to sit in front of them and demand that they change this logo because you don't like it. It doesn't work that way. If you go to, well, let me back up. I also made it a point in 6.5 years to be at the coffee with a cop, the drug take back day, the shredder events, the car show, the golf outings that they have. And unless you know these guys outside uniform, you wouldn't know they are police officers. When they leave the door, it stays here. They're normal human beings. Their interactions are pleasant. Mr. Taylor, our manager, could tell you, when I first was elected to the board, I had very young daughters. My youngest one, unfortunately, her father was driving fast one time through Upper Dublin and got pulled over. She had never seen a police officer pull up behind a car before. Her reaction was something that I wasn't expecting, to the point where the police officer said, "Sir, here's your warning, go home." Now, when I explained to them that our mail is delivered by the police officers, I had to ask for them to let me know when they were coming to the door, because I didn't know what her reaction was. And for 6.5 years, they have stopped at my door and for a half hour to an hour, talked to my family and my daughters, to the point where it's first name basis and they love seeing them. My daughter stopped being fearful of the police officers because they interacted with her and made her feel comfortable. I know people are scared of the cops because of things that happen, but it's not something that we can continue to let go. We can change people's perception of the police department. We can change people to not make them be fearful. And I think at some point we need to give these officers the benefit of the doubt as human beings. And I also want to stress that the PBA logo is not worn on these men and women while they are working. This is a nonprofit, unaffiliated organization to the township outside of work that they use to raise funds for scholarships and other things. They don't have the flags on their cars. They don't have the flags on their shirts. They don't have flags on wristbands on their wrists. You're not going to see it while they're on duty. Why? Because they're very respectful. And they will tell you that. So I just want to let it out there that I've had multiple conversations with them over 6 years, and I urge some of my colleagues to try to do this in a pleasant manner. And we should work this out internally. I don't think this was the venue for this. It happened, yes, but we could have continued the internal discussions like we were having to have the uncomfortable conversations, and maybe we could have worked things out. But like was stated earlier, people are going to start digging in there, and we need to dig out. And we could have dug out of this, but we chose to dig in. I didn't choose to dig in. I made it clear where I was going to stand from the beginning on this. And I cannot stereotype our police officers the same way that other police departments in this country are because of the inappropriate acts done by officers. We wouldn't allow it. They wouldn't allow it. We spend 40 hours of investigative background work by our detectives on every individual hired by this township to be a police officer. If there's something in their background that's racist, they're not going to work here. So the due diligence is there. We do our homework. So at some point, we need to just have a calm conversation, and we can agree to disagree. We used to be able to agree to disagree in this country, and we can't agree to disagree. There's so many things that I could sit here and ramble about what I disagree with in this country, but that doesn't get me anywhere in life. I still have to wake up in the morning, put my boots on, go to work, and provide for my family. If I worried about everything that made me feel uncomfortable, I wouldn't be able to be successful in my life. I don't work like that. Some of you may, but I don't. I have thin skin. There's times where my wife tells me I have no empathy. Maybe because I have no thick skin. But the intention of the PBA is 100% heartfelt. Their commitment to the community is 100%. And I think at some point, we need to lower the temperature down and have the conversations and keep the public included so that at some point, this can come to a conclusion. And maybe it is, well, we all don't agree on it and we're going to move on. But we're here now. We have to deal with it. And it's an unfortunate situation. And, you know, I thank you all for coming out tonight.
Any other commissioner wishes to say something?
One second. I just want to apologize. I'm sorry if you took that the wrong way. That was not my intention. My intention was to point out, and I don't speak for the police. I'm not a representative for the police. Make that clear. My intention was to point out that if you were a group.
Could you come to the mic? The people can't hear you. Can you come to the mic, sir? Sure. Thank you.
If you were a group and the first time you heard of something, it was someone attacking you on social media. That was my point. And that's the first time the police in reality were contacted. They learned about this on social media, being attacked by a sitting commissioner. That's how they learned. And that was my point, not to demean you in any way. I'm sorry if you took that.
No, I didn't. I just wanted to make it clear that somebody was talking to them. Yeah.
Any other commissioner wish to make a statement?
Mr. President, I'll just say something real quick. I sort of echoing Commissioner Maxwell's sentiment, was not, to say the least, in favor of this forum for this debate. And mostly because of how it would sully or impugn the good name of our department. That somehow this ongoing conversation, which will be ongoing, should have any reflection on the integrity of every single member of our department. It really should be very separate. And just to highlight, again, and I think it was said by many people here, and I think Jenny, Ms. French, pointed out very astutely when she talked about she was, I think, reflecting on maybe, why they, I think there's a lot of reasons why the symbol is important to in their choice of using it for the department, but talking about the trauma that they went through over the last several years of being at work every single day during the pandemic, showing up on calls at a time when their profession was being challenged. And they endured a lot, and they endured it with integrity and professionalism. And I know from talking with Ms. French that she doesn't necessarily, I think, agree with the symbol, but I found her ability to reflect and understand the reasons behind why they would choose it was important. And I just ask upon the members of this board and us all to kind of reflect on what we heard from both sides, because I'll tell you, I heard amazing things from every single one of you. And I really, really appreciate that dialogue because, I can only sit here and do what I do from listening to people that I don't agree with. And I listen to every single one of you. But coming out of this, I think it's very, very important, again, that this debate and this conversation we're having no way reflects poorly or impugns our department, because thinking about what they have done over the last several years during this period of time where we're reflecting on these big issues, every single member of that department has taken sensitivity training. Every single member of that department has taken time to take de-escalation training. They have taken it upon themselves to adopt body cameras. They have listened to the community. They've done everything they can to adopt practices that continue to build upon community policing. And so we need to praise them for that. This conversation, obviously, we all have very strong feelings about the symbol. But I think the best thing I heard was, and that what I would encourage us all to do, is to have that conversation with people that disagree with us and understand, why it's important to them. But again, I just want to continue to praise the department and their professionalism and their commitment to this community, and that this debate in no way reflects any of negatively on any of that. And in that spirit as well, they do have an event on Saturday morning, I think 9 o'clock, shredding event. So whether or not you have something to shred or not, it's a great opportunity to go out and talk to them, communicate with them, thank them, and just sort of continue this conversation. So that's all.
I'll open back. Any other commissioner wish to say a statement before I allow the last two public comments?
I would like to say something, but I just because she was standing, is it okay if she goes ahead?
Oh, Mary, I thought she was just standing. I'm sorry. Ms. Health, did you want to say something?
Actually, I came in, the seat taken the floor by the radiator, and I said, oh, my knees are creaking as I was getting up. So that's why I missed the line.
Oh, okay. Did you want to make a statement? Sure. Come right up, please.
And I'll just mention that one of my nephews is a police officer, state trooper, he directly where it comes to has received several citations, but that's in bravery, but there's danger, he runs toward it. So I'm very respectful of police, and I would tell him that at Easter when I see him here. Thank you for your applause. But I just wanted to point out, though, because all the speakers really tonight have been very sincere in their support of the police and in their wanting to live in Springfield, because it is a wonderful community. And that's due to the people who live here as well as our police force. But yet no individual, no group of individuals, no professional group always has perfect judgment. And if we can help, I think it's our duty to try and help and improve things. So we've heard the history of how the thin blue line evolved, and that it has been adopted by extremist groups whose purpose really is to divide us and put, certain groups down and to make them feel not only not included, but also pushed away. And when significant number of Springfield residents, and they are Springfield taxpayers, very sincerely look at this emblem and feel disrespected and not included because of the history of this emblem and because of the history of America here over the last 2 centuries or more. Every
citizen of Springfield deserves respect and deserves to be included and to feel a real part of the township, and that the police always, always, always are thinking of supporting everyone. And when this symbol has evolved, regardless of how it started, or regardless of how people want to interpret it, I mean, the facts are that it has evolved into being a negative symbol. And all of Springfield supports the police, and we should ask our police and hope that they would want to support this entire community. And Michelle, one of the last speakers, made reference to being a woman here. And we've learned over the decades and over the centuries that women are to be respected. And when they're not being respected, we have a problem. And it is the same thing with Americans and our Springfield residents who have skin color other than white. If they're not feeling respected and included, that's an issue that we have to think seriously about and to deal with it and to work with our police and try to convince them that the symbol is not really the way that they want to project themselves to our entire community. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Sure.
Hi, my name is Dan Bennett. I'm a Winmore resident. So Mr. Graham, when you have an agenda that you're trying to do, you should make sure the people you bring in from another township don't sit behind me and talk about white people suck.
I beg your pardon?
People from your NAACP group that were sitting right behind me. Hold on, don't interrupt me.
I didn't interrupt you.
You did actually. You know, I know you don't really seem to care because it seems like you're playing on your phone and sleeping up there, but I had a woman from your NAACP group talking about white privilege. I hate white people. While this meeting was going on, because there was people up here showing their support for the police. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit irritated with this because of this. It feels like you have a personal agenda going on here, and I don't feel like you're fit to be our president of the Springfield Township Commissioners because of that personal agenda that you have going on. You brought in NAACP and people from other communities that have nothing to do with Springfield Township. Why were Cheltenham community people able to talk here regarding this issue? It's a Springfield Township Police Benevolent Association, not Cheltenham Township. So again, I don't feel like you're capable of running a township because you clearly, you made a statement to the Chestnut Hill local about blue lives aren't a thing. Oh, I left my phone at my seat, sorry. There was a comment in there that blue lives aren't really a thing. People that support the police believe that blue lives matter because those are our friends and family that go out there to God knows what. So to us, that is a thing. You then made a comment about if it was a Jewish person or an LGBTQ person, that it would clearly be changed because of them. That's all. You can stop looking at your phone. I'm done.
I'm not. Oh my God. Yes, sir. Next, please. First of all, I tell you what. I'm going to just stop. Okay, thank you. Your turn, sir.
I know it's getting late. I'll be quick. So Alan Gary Orland again. I just wanted to make a comment and really applaud the Springfield police officers, especially those that are the vice president of the association. That was also mentioned in that article that the township tried to pay $10,000 to get them to change their logo. Unfortunately, the logo, you thought you were trying to buy the logo, but it was really their integrity and their honor that wasn't for sale. So I applaud them for not going for that. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank everyone for coming out, and I thank you for all for your opinions and dialogues. Does someone else have something to say?
Hi.
Commissioner Razoval.
Hi, everybody. First of all, thank you everyone for coming. I really appreciate, unlike some of the other commissioners, I actually feel like this is perfectly fine forum for this for many reasons. One of which is, honestly, we really did try to handle this privately, and we are still going to continue to do that. I've spoken with officers on my own time, as I would speak with any of you on your own time. I'd be happy to share a coffee with any of you to talk about this issue. Because I really do think that it's not something that is just belongs to Eddie. It doesn't belong to, frankly, just Black people or white people or police officers. It's really an issue about how we handle incendiary, potentially inflammatory, some of the words I've heard tonight, symbology and such when it represents our township. And I think that's one of the reasons why, at least for me, much like some of my fellow residents who spoke up and said, hey, I saw that and I had a really visceral, sad, if not fearful reaction to what I saw. And I don't feel included by that symbol. And that's concerning to me because I know that these are public servants who intend good things, who have done great things, who serve well. Thank you for your service. And thank you to all those officers and those that I've spoke with and those that I haven't yet, frankly, just haven't had the time, but I will make the time. And so when I see that, it's really tough. And so I want to thank everyone who came out from both opinions about the general topic by itself, because I know it's difficult. One, it's difficult to do it. Two, I want to respond because I've been on the other side of an issue and I hate when you say something and then someone says, all right, next comment, that sort of thing. I want to respond because I do want to recognize that there's an intent here that is good, certainly. And, Alan, you and I have spoken about this. There's a good intent, but sometimes good intentions have potentially more detrimental impacts than we expect or know. And particularly for those in public service, like ourselves, like our police officers, I do expect a heightened sense of a heightened standard for us as leaders in the community to recognize that and say, hey, let me take a pause and ascertain if this is actually going to have a negative and or positive impact. And then more importantly, for someone like myself and perhaps like the police officers, where we really do serve all of you in many different ways, if there is even a chance, frankly, that this is going to have a really deep or disproportionate impact on members of my community, I think the request is let's take a pause on that and take that down for now and continue the conversation to potentially get to the point where perhaps in a future conversation, perhaps that symbol can be used in the way that it's supposed to, and or maybe a different symbol that we collaborate on together. I say all that because honestly, one of the issues I do want to address, even what I'm saying right now, I have a lot of anxiety about this, about the conversation, although I think it's a good one. It's a lot of great anxiety for a lot of different reasons. Angelina spoke to our personal traumas. We all have them, and we all have great anxiety doing this. And there's a lot of people out there, including maybe those who spoke earlier, who feel strongly about things like this and are afraid to come up and speak. And I think as a leader, it behooves me to serve them as well, frankly, because sometimes that is enough. And really, when I see an incendiary symbol, I'm looking for our leaders to look at it and say, hey, perhaps we should really de-escalate the situation. And one way is really to request that we remove the inflammatory symbol out of the way so that we can really address the heart of the matter. Is it really that there are police officers here who don't feel supported because of traumas that they're experiencing? That's terrible. We'd love to address that. I think we should continue down that conversation. I think we will continue down those conversations. I personally have. We've done it in groups. I think we're going to do that because that's the right thing to do for anyone who may be feeling certain stress, and myself included, right? There's just a lot of anxiety when I see that for a lot of different reasons we don't have to get into today, nor can we really adjudicate today, right? And again, if you want to speak privately, I will take anyone out, share coffee with you to talk about these feelings in a more appropriate and deeper forum. I just want to end on the notions that here, as you see, just as I think the remainder of you are actually here to ask that we don't, press on this matter. I do recognize that you have strong feelings about this, but I hope you also saw that other people also had strong feelings about this. And that given that there are strong feelings, hey, let's take a pause and choose not to have our township represented by this until we have sorted that out. And I think that's reasonable. It's de-escalating a potentially inflammatory situation. And that's why we're really requesting this to happen, because I think it reflects poorly on our township, our residents, and on the good work that our police really do. I heard the words from a lot of you remaining here, hey, let's stop this. Let's not call anyone names. Let's not be inflammatory and such. And I think it goes, others feel different, the same way in the opposite direction. And that's enough for me to say, hey, let's take a pause and take stock, continue the conversations, I think hopefully productive ones. But let's take stock of this as we move forward and maybe not choose to lean into controversy, particularly at a time of heightened scrutiny of the hard work that the police already do. So those are my comments.
This is just more a matter of procedure, not this. I try to stay out of, the politics once you get off the dais, right? Whatever. Procedurally, the police department is part of the township, correct? But the association is not. Is that correct? So the association is a private entity, not part of the township. So how did this become a township issue? And I ask this as a member of the Lions, and there's members of the Rotary, and there's members of a lot of other groups in this township who hold events on the township property. And if somebody finds the lion to be symbolic of something in the past, or a Rotary or elk, or, the Schreier's Fez or whatever, become offensive, are we automatically then going to turn right away and say, okay, it offended somebody, let's pause, let's remove it? This is a group of people who decided on, and I don't even know how this looks like the flag you're complaining of. Could you come up here with that shirt, please? This doesn't look anything like what you're talking about. This is a shield with a broad line, not, and it is there's nothing on that symbol there that represents anything you purport it to represent through the history of this country, good, bad, ugly, great. And we're all here, great country. We all have the right to sit here and chat and disagree. Commissioner and a candidate, a state rep and a possible other state rep on two different opposing opinions. Both, citizens of Pennsylvania, pretty similar to all of us, right? But they bring a different dynamic, and we're not going to agree on this. I mean, there's no, there's no middle ground on certain things, and to tell people as a body to go outside of your responsibility, to go outside of your responsibility to a private entity and tell them, because you have the authority over them on their positions at work, to do something is blatantly wrong. And I don't know how we got to the point where this body is even involved in this conversation. And that is where the pressure becomes. I mentioned earlier about digging a hole. Clearly, people who left already, and there's a few still here, dug that hole and that's their foxhole. And they're going to say, I want that removed because somebody told me that it was offensive, because most of them don't have that opinion of themselves in their history. Because you brought out that they're black and white. I didn't. We're all Springfield people. I'm sorry, we've got to get beyond the black and white. And all the other colors. There is no issue, ma'am. No, sir. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I have no issue with anybody unless I disagree with them. And if I disagree with them, that doesn't mean I happen to disagree with you and you happen to be black. That doesn't mean I disagree with you because you're black. All right? I disagree with you in the principle and the responsibility of government to take care of governmental responsibilities and not to get involved in private institutions. That is a line we cannot cross at Springfield. That is not a blue line or a black line or a white line. It's a line that we cannot allow this body to get involved in. It was brought up to me that they're a private institution, and it's sort of, they aren't on their uniform. They aren't on the vehicles. You have no responsibility to that. You just have to tell people, sorry, get over it. I mean, really, that's what otherwise you're outside your purview, 100% outside your purview.
So I know it's really late and I'm probably getting divorced at this point. But just, and again, I don't want to jump on what you said because I really do appreciate the respective dialogue that we've had. But I think where the logic may be a little flawed, you said, maybe we should put this logo on hold or let's put it aside and not use it for now until we all have a discussion because it's divisive. So my question would be to all of you, if members of this community find any of you divisive or divisive in this community, are you willing to step down from your position as commissioner until we have conversations to see whether or not you serve the whole community? Because that's where the logic really is, right?
So if I could address that.
I don't want this to kind of get, do you have
Could I just put my button on for both of those queries? I say this, for those of us who come through a township, I live here obviously, but if I went anywhere, I saw a badge and shield, I saw the name attached to the police and representing the township, wherever the place is. That by itself is concerning to me because that's reflecting the policies of that locality if the symbol is concerning. And I think that's why this is really understanding that, yes, they are a separate organization. I do understand that. But this is why this is a conversation and request, frankly, on behalf of residents who are employing, those individuals. And that's what we're doing. Absolutely.
Okay, can we stop the back and forth?
Going to Alan.
Can we just stop the back and forth? Do you have anything that are you finished with your statement?
I do. I think real quick, I think, we have to also think about the unintended consequence, right? So I don't know. I've heard, that there was pressure put on both Marlowe and Veterans Field to have this logo removed. I don't know if that's true or not. That's a shame if that is, because they support the boys and the girls that play in this township. So both those logos have been removed from those fields. That's a shame. But the unintended consequence of this, you may be successful in, again, putting pressure on certain entities, maybe be successful not having this emblem displayed at township. But the unintended consequences, you're going to see more of these flags and yard signs on people's yards in this township. You're going to see more blue lights. So we have to really talk about the unintended. If this logo really does traumatize people, and again, I recognize that it does. I heard people loud and clear tonight, and that is unfortunate. But the unintended consequence of this is you're going to see it all over the place now because of the support that people are willing to show for the police department. So we're not really addressing the issue. We're going to make it, you're going to make it worse. The more pressure you put on them, the more of these logos you're going to see throughout this community.
All right.
So just finishing, if I could finish what I was saying, is that we are elected, right? Like you said, and you said, would you step down? Look, I am subject.
We could do that in June, July. I would support that.
Look, we are elected by residents to represent their interests, and our comeuppance is always at the polls. Absolutely, that's the beauty of democracy, right? But part of the duties as a leader here is to represent those interests of those who are associating that symbol with our township. If they are, and many are, to say, hey, I'm concerned about that. And I hope that we reflect on that and take it down. That's all I wanted to say, is that we do meet our comeuppance at the polls, and that's fine.
And
And that's all I want to say.
Absolutely.
Okay,
But I
after
think-
this comment, after this last
Yeah,
comment, I'm gonna call it because you,
But-
you,
but-
in
but
all
I think, yes,
respect, sir,
I know.
in all respect, sir, you both came up several times.
But the more you
saying
all
that this-
keep talking.
I
we need
haven't
to
said
say-
anything,
But
sir.
everyone on the board has spoken.
I haven't spoken.
My only thing, real quick, is, again, people mention that they won't contribute to this organization. That is their choice. If that logo offends them, they're not forced. There's no tax dollars funding this organization. You know, this is a private entity, so don't support them.
There's only going to be one more
That
public
is your-
comment
that
after
is
this
your
gentleman.
choice as
I'm-
residents,
I'm
not as
cutting it off here.
You
I'm
can't-
cutting it off
You
here.
cannot do that with the sunshine law, so that's fine. You really can't. You can limit each conversation, but I'm allowed back up here 100 times over. So
And you're absolutely right. My
Thank you.
apologies.
thank you very much. My main point to you, I'm sorry.
You can call me Susie. Go
Susie,
ahead.
okay. My main point, Susie, is we're a first-class township, and you were elected as an official of a first-class township. That does not make you king. That
Absolutely.
does not make you have a solicitor, and the solicitor will tell you what your boundaries are. You do not have unlimited boundaries just because you were elected to serve the people in a first-class township. You have the boundaries that are established by the state of Pennsylvania and the Constitution and the rules of a first-class township. Those rules do not allow you to impact a private anything for anything they do that is not outside the law. And putting a shield is not something that you have the right or responsibility as a commissioner to control. I am sure Andy will tell you that this is outside of your boundary. I would imagine, as I sat back in that room, Jim sat back in the room, I sat with Michael, I sat with Peter for 16 years myself. I don't know, how many, 35 for you, maybe? You are advised by your solicitor what you're allowed to do. And I'm sure, without putting him on the spot, that you have crossed that line. And I really think those who are opposed to this shield should also say, you don't have that responsibility, because it might be something they like next that you want to remove. So freedom is freedom. Freedom of speech is freedom of speech. And because you don't like it, that doesn't mean it's not to be free. Because I don't like what you say doesn't mean I don't like you because of a race, gender, or anything else. It just means I disagree with you. And here, not only do I disagree with you, but I disagree with the way you're handling this, and it is way outside your boundary as elected officials. That's my point.
Hi, thanks again, Mary Ellen Raves. I need a point of clarification here. I didn't understand until Mr. Gillies explained that this is outside your boundaries. And I'm really questioning, what is the genesis of this conversation? Where did this begin? Was there some survey taken? I didn't fill out a survey about this. How did this come to be? I'm asking a question. I just don't know. I mean, because
I can answer that.
all these people just showed up.
Because I'm hearing a lot of comments of calling, I guess, referring to me as the chief, the czar, the instigator. It came from the realization of where this flag originated from. We never, and the solicitor can attest to this, there was never a demand. It was always a peaceful request to reconsider removing the flag because it was offensive to some of the people in the community that the police department serves. There was never a demand. You've never heard that from any of the commissioners on this board, nor have you heard it being offered to the PBA. There was never a demand. It was always, hey, this emblem is offensive to some of the community that you can serve. Would you consider taking it down. We went to them, I believe, 5 times before we came to this public meeting. And I understand the laughs, the ridicule that I'll get and the response. Also, I have to defend the Cheltenham area branch NAACP. The Springfield Township is under the jurisdiction of the Cheltenham area branch NAACP, which includes 5 townships. I'm talking, sir. Springfield Township is one of those. Also, to the person that you said made a disparaging mark concerning white racism, the Cheltenham NAACP, other than Ms. Maris, who made the original statement, they were all sitting over here, except for one young lady who was sitting here. That comment did not come from any member of the Cheltenham, allow me to finish, the Cheltenham area NAACP. My apologies for getting upset, but I'm hearing the things that demand was used, that we stereotyped that I was disgruntled in making these remarks. So the conversation was brought about because we wanted to hear both sides of the arguments from all of our residents. It was an open dialogue that I thought would be handled in a peaceful manner, and I knew that it was uncomfortable. But when you come and then you start to attack some of the commissioners on the board with false narratives, then I get upset. The laughs, the comments from the comments, and this is exactly what I'm saying, and which is exactly why I wanted this meeting to be held publicly. Because when they review it, they'll see what we did. Never in our conversation was there a demand to the PBA to remove the symbol. It was always a peaceful, could you please consider removing the flag? There was never a demand. My apologies, I just wanted to respond to your inquiries.
Okay, you did have members of the NAACP, which includes Springfield Township. And again, I did sit on your NAACP discussion about race, critical
It was
race theory.
concerning CRT, not
Critical
against the
race theory.
PBA side.
No. Correct.
Correct, okay.
Critical race theory. I know you have very strong opinions about it. You have very strong opinions. It's not a disparaging comment. You have strong opinions about it. I have very strong opinions about it too. Okay. Fair enough, right? I mean, isn't that okay to have strong opinions?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Sure you are, can have strong opinions.
Yeah. So it's like, I think that's kind of what we're seeing here, right? I mean, I think there's a lot, again, we're making this divisive. And I just, my question was just, what was the genesis of this? And you just went off on a diatribe about nothing. Mr. Graham, I have no knowledge of what you're talking about.
Okay.
I have no knowledge of that.
Okay.
I'm coming here as a citizen trying to understand this issue.
All right.
And I don't really understand the point of why everyone's getting so upset when we have established it's not even under this jurisdiction. I've really tried to come and understand your community and where this has all come from because I've heard rumblings of this. Okay. And your community is not just your community, it's our community.
Yeah, I was about to correct you, and I'm glad you corrected that. Thank you.
Well, let's be honest, it's our entire community.
Correct.
You should not be separated as a member of an NAACP. That you should not be just identified as that. So that is not what I'm trying to do. But I'm saying that is that I've been trying to support the organization you belong to by hearing you and understanding where you come from on various issues because you brought speakers in tonight. I have no problem with that. But again, I just ask, how did this all get brought up? And I still don't understand was there a poll? Where did this come from? How did this happen? I mean, where did this come from?
There was a sign hanging over a roadway that triggered all this.
Okay.
And if you're told no, that is a lie.
Well, that is not true because we had a couple of people that testified earlier that a few years back, they had mentioned it to former Commissioner Jeff Harbison, So it has been mentioned before, but it just came to, I guess, to a peak when the sign over Willow Grove. And then I brought it up to the Board of Commissioners.
Okay.
And I said to the Board of Commissioners, if we could reach out internally to PBA and ask them to consider taking down, reusing another emblem. That's how it all started.
So this is,
Of
course.
As I also understand it, police department had a table of community there. They were handing out cinch bags to the children. The bags were blue, it had the logo on it. Somebody was offended and went to the table and lost their mind. That triggered a series of events prior to the sign being noticed. Now, whether those events were given to any commissioners, I don't know, but I was aware of them that day because I talked to the cops at the table at that day. So they explained to me that some lady didn't like the bags and just went on full blast on it.
Right.
They were handing out the bags to children.
Yeah.
So that was the first instance.
It's really sad. It's really sad.
I was aware of.
Oh, sad.
The logo was already on all their stuff a year or two prior when they reformed the analysis.
Yeah. So
The first I heard it was an issue was when the banner was noticed.
where was the banner? Okay. I go up and down all the time. I was for the auto show? Okay. So I think if we're gonna have this public forum, we actually need to know how this came about.
I thought it was general knowledge, man.
really was
My
not.
apologies,
no
if
need to
you did not.
apologize.
Well, no, I'm gonna offer my apologies.
Yeah.
If I did not understand your question originally, which caused for my mini rant a few minutes ago.
It's okay. Hey, listen, you're passionate about it. I get it.
Yeah.
But since we've established that it's actually not something that this is under the jurisdiction of this board, what would the next steps be?
Well, and then once again, the dialogue is being put that we are demanding this. Once it was a peaceful request, and I challenged anyone to show where I have demanded from the PBA to remove the symbol. It was always the narrative of peacefully asking them to remove the emblem because it was offensive to some members of the community. And that's it. No, what we were offering them was to try to get them to realize that the sign was offensive and that as a result, they had cost if they had considered changing the emblem. And it was sent to them as a negotiation for them to reconsider changing the emblem. We had made the offer to say that we would give you this amount of money because we knew that you had cost in buying t-shirts, polo shirts, hats. And as an offer to say, hey, we are genuinely asking you to remove it. Would you please reconsider if we offered to pay for that?
By the way, that came from them. One of their objections to changing it was, hey, we laid out all of this money, we got some costs. And that just came back saying, hey, what if we cover the cost? That's all.
No,
We weren't giving your money away.
To clarify,
We weren't giving
no,
it away.
hold on, wait. To clarify, it wasn't township taxpayer dollars. It was a private donor.
Thank you.
That's the answer that's the answer you should have gotten, but you didn't get it.
Wow. Yes, ma'am.
I think you want, go ahead.
I didn't state my question.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
I'll wait.
No, you go ahead.
No, you go.
Mr. Graham, I have a couple questions based on the statement that you made.
Sure.
If I come to you one time and I say, Mr. Graham, I really don't like what you're doing peacefully. We peacefully discuss it. I really don't like what you're doing. And you say, I'm sorry, but this is my stance and I'm going to stick to it.
No,
So-
what I would say to that, you're asking, I'm sorry, I thought you had finished your question. My apologies.
So now I come back to you a second time and I say peacefully, Mr. Graham, would you reconsider changing your position? We've talked about it. No. Okay. Can we meet a third time? And can I peacefully ask you to do away with this emblem? No, we discussed it. The answer is no. We come back a fifth time peacefully and say, at what point is it not threatening to them? At what point is it not, do they not take it as being intimidating? And then my last question to you, and you can respond if you like, I really don't, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I know.
If you have so much public support here in Springfield Township for this, if there's just overwhelming support and you're getting phone calls and emails and all this stuff on social media, why'd you bring in the hired guns from John?
Michelle Chisitis, Orland, and you know the PA part. Oh, yeah. My first question is actually was at the beginning of the meeting. Is there a precedent or a published procedure to have set aside for guest speakers at the beginning of a public Board of Commissioners meeting? Is there a precedent for that?
Once again, when I brought this meeting up to the commissioners, it was voted upon. And I informed the speakers, the Board of Commissioners, if this would be allowed. They voted not in the majority, not unanimously, but in the majority that we could. I also stated that there were going to be speakers that were going to be from opposing sides. The speakers that they all didn't show up.
Yeah, that's fine.
So yes, I did seek the permission of the board, and the majority of them voted in favor of this forum.
Okay, so that wasn't, but you didn't hear my question. Is there a public posting that you can apply to be a guest speaker? Is there some precedent for that? So if I come in and I want to become an Avon lady, bad example, and I would like to reach out to the members of the township to be an Avon lady. I'm not disparaging who came.
You can make that request at any time. You can request it of any commissioner.
Is there a publicly known precedent? Thank you, Mr. Gillies.
Well, there's a lot of precedents. To answer your question, it's not a formal policy of,
So
you're not like
It's a request.
you're not applying for a
so-
permit, but anyone can make a request to come speak. They can reach out to their commissioner. The commissioner can advocate for that and bring it to the rest of the board. And that happens frequently with a lot of guest speakers. It's
Okay.
not always a
So-
controversial
so-
topic.
And as a point of procedure, it has been done in the past, and it has been granted by this board, such as issues on parking, where they knew that they were going to have certain speakers to address that. So
Right.
yes, it has been done before.
Okay, so,
Thank you.
but I'm just saying, is the public aware that they can make a special request to a commissioner? Or was, and this is asked with respect, or did you ask the board if you could have special guest speakers come in for this particular meeting, knowing the invitation that went out to the members of the Cheltenham area branch of the NAACP?
It went out to everyone, ma'am. It went out to everyone. Well, Commissioner Gillies and Commissioner Daly can testify that they reached out to the Board of Commissioners through our township commissioner and asked if they could have a speaker present tonight. Am I correct, sir? Is it a little, but yes or no?
I didn't know. I reached out to the township to see if I could speak tonight, and potentially if I had the opportunity to have a phone for Ms. Barnett to speak.
No.
But that didn't work out.
Yeah, well, what was explained to us as a board was that you had specifically requested for a speaker to speak tonight in support of your PBA emblem, and we said, sure.
It was not an in-person request.
It was a request, am I correct? And we granted it.
You can reach out. You just said you reached out. So
Anyway, so that answers your
Okay,
question,
so
ma'am.
so
Yes.
that's my first question. My second question is, given the fact, and again, I should have educated myself better on all the intricacies of this. And the fact that it is a public, pardon me, a private association. So the Springfield Township Police Benevolent Association is a private entity outside the realm of Springfield Township jurisdiction. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so my next question is, I would say final, but I probably will think of another one. What influence does the Board of Commissioner have on the ability of the officers of Springfield Township Police, who are also members of the Springfield Township Benevolent Association? What impact do you have on their careers and their day-to-day doings?
I don't understand that question. Are
Okay.
you saying that we're going to
So-
threaten their jobs because they are part of the PBA?
I didn't say threat. What
I
I
mean-
said was what influence,
So I'm missing the point, ma'am.
okay, I'll try it again. What influence does the Board of Commissioners have on the day-to-day workings of the Springfield Township Police Department?
As they are working in the commission of doing their job,
Absolutely, yes.
we hold them to a high standard. And if they violate that standard, then I'm sure that there are administrative policies and procedures in place to address those, that action that occurred as he was working in his capacity
As a
as a
police officer.
Springfield police officer.
So in their capacity as Springfield Township Police officers, there, as everyone here has had nothing but glowing remarks and much pride or much, pride and gratitude toward them. These same police officers basically have established a benevolent society whose only problem, they're glowing, wonderful officers in every other respect. The only problem of this Board of Commissioners, and I'm going to make a general statement. I'm not personally saying you are for or against. You as a Board of Commissioners have made, I'm sorry if I'm boring you. Am I boring you?
Clearly we are.
Yeah.
We clearly are.
What
All the bid speakers came first.
what other than that symbol is causing all this disruption and division and hatred and suspicion? The fact that there was pressure, which among you, and again, not really a question for answering right now, who told the Springfield Township Little League and the Springfield Township Marlowe Field and what's the one in Winmore? Veterans to take down the PBA symbol?
I don't know.
It came from somewhere. They received pressure to remove the signs. So
I
if
don't-
no one up there put that pressure on them, what happened? Why aren't they up?
I'm not familiar with, anyone?
I remember last year. I don't remember this year.
Yeah, I don't
You're
remember that.
gone.
I remember last year at Marlowe.
Who has the authority to take those down? They paid a donation. Am I wrong?
No, that was be my question. I was going to ask if any members of the board had conversations with any of the two Little League organizations about removing the signs for opening day or otherwise. The one at Veterans Field was taken down for opening day and it's back up currently now. So it was intentionally taken down for opening day. So I don't know. I'm not accusing. It's an actual
It's a
question.
question.
The only time I
can-
remember was last year at Marlowe. And I know that the Little League received calls from a number of residents. It never came before the board.
I can tell you, I was made aware. Hold on. I can tell you that I was made aware of the sign at Veterans Park last night. And I was also told that there was pressure applied to the Little League softball by some significant donors that they were pulling donations if they allowed it. So I'm not sure who told them to put it down. It certainly didn't come from me, but I was made aware of it last night that it may have happened. I don't know if it did. So
Could it be the same donor who offered $10,000 to redo the artwork for the PBA symbol?
no,
Thank you.
as I understood it, yes, from donors. Well, unfortunately, But herein lies the dilemma there. The PBA sponsors the Little Leagues. They're at their events. They're there. None of us are. None of our faces are on signs. I sure know. I don't see this entire board at Little League events or opening days.
Opening day for softball was raining and the Springfield Township Police led all the girls in the league around the entire neighborhood in the rain to safely get there.
Let's also be careful. We talk about Little League because I know probably the board at Frobisher wouldn't take down the sign. So let's not.
I wasn't lumping them all together.
Let's not impugn Little League in general overall, because I know that the board would feel very strongly about keeping the sign up. So.
To remove the signs from, because if I own a pizza shop and there's another pizza shop up and I call and complain strongly, does that mean that pizza shop guy's sign has to come down and mine stays up because I don't want it there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, I don't understand. Right.
Are there any more public comments before we close the meeting for the evening?
Would the solicitor be able to give us some definition as to what is allowed by first-class township rules and regulations?
No, because we haven't looked into that issue at this point. I mean, I think the purpose of this, as far as my understanding is, it was to receive comment and have discussion. We haven't been directed to do anything of a legal nature.
I mean, the board of commissioners had a goal. What was the goal of the board of commissioners outside of the lines of first-class township elected rules?
The goal, I think, was to receive public comment
On what?
on this particular issue.
What does this issue have to do with the township as a body of elected officials?
Public comment is just concern anything involving the township. That's it. We haven't been asked to do anything of a legal nature with respect to this matter.
You must have been, if you've gone to the group 5 times prior to this meeting, you must have addressed this.
When you're putting pressure on paid attorneys to make a decision that you want, as opposed to what they want.
Okay. I don't get a vote. It's not what I want. Correct.
You're supposed to tell us when President Graham says he's a member of the NAACP and he's there on their behalf, which he did say in protest for this issue that he should have recused himself. And if he didn't want to ask whether he should or not be recused, 2 commissioners could ask you for that opinion. And if those 2 commissioners ask you for an opinion, he should recuse himself. He has to recuse himself from this issue. That's how it works.
Right. Well, you're using I and me. It's not me, but I represent I represent the Board of Commissioners. When they ask me for legal advice, I give them legal advice. Yes. Okay, understand.
Are you aware of any legal precedent that's been established concerning PBAs and any police associations? Legal precedent. Are you aware of any?
I have not looked. I'm not aware of any off the top of my head. No, it's not an issue that comes up every single. This is. Thank you.
PBAs are not illegal. You have no jurisdiction over them whatsoever. The only thing you can do, and it's been established by the courts in many states, you can say to the police, you can't put that logo on your uniform. You can't put that logo on the township police car. And you can't wear that uniform, wear that logo or present it in a township facility. That's the legal precedent.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Well, in which case, all this would have been moved. We wouldn't be here, okay? If you had done your homework and told the board, we really shouldn't be addressing this issue. Well, I asked him and he said, no.
Well, it is not a legal matter because it was an open discussion for the members of the township to come and discuss the issue. Because once again, I'm going to just say.
I sat here all night. I sat here all night listening to people for it, people against it.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, can you state your name?
My name's Betty Ann McMahon.
Thank you.
I've been a resident of Springfield Township for 48 years. So I think I have a little bit to say here. It's a private entity. You commissioners have nothing to do with it. It's a mute thing. They were approached 5 times. Don't approach them anymore. It's done. It's over. It has to stand. Thank you.
Once again, and for the record, it was never a demand. It was to open up public discussion about how this emblem is and you can shake your head all you want. That's what all of the, Jesus.
You know, when I was a little kid, my mother would ask me the first time very nicely, Michelle, go clean your room. Okay. Knowing full well I went upstairs, didn't clean my room. Second time, just as nicely, but maybe with a little less patience, Michelle, go clean your room. She could say it 1 time, 5 times. I wasn't that bad. I did it after the second time. But just because you claim publicly that it was a peaceful request does not mean that any of the people in this room don't read between the lines. There is no peaceful request, as Mrs. McMahon has said, as Alan has said, as your own Board of Commissioner people have said. After the 3rd time, enough. So you can call it a peaceful demand or a peaceful request. Don't treat us like we're stupid. We know what it is. It's pressure.
Has anybody ever done negotiation with unions before? Yep. And do you go up to a union and you say one time, hey, can we do something? And then the union.
The township has no say about a association that is made up of only township employees. It's a private organization made up of just police officers, just like if the commissioners wanted to create a private organization, call it the Springfield Town. No, they can. But when you ever deal with a union, you have to go to a union and you make them a request. You're right. You talk to them the first time. You go back, then you eyes back and forth. You go back a second time and you talk to them. I've never been to a union negotiation where it's been like, oh, hey, can we do this? And they're like, no. And then you're like, okay, bye, see you later. You go back because you want to talk to them. And like you said, you want to have an open dialogue with them to find out the answers with everybody. So that's what they were doing for like 5 times. Now, should they keep going? Now, should they, no, there isn't, but you can still talk with them because this is a community issue. And yes, why is there only me talking right now? That's out of this whole township, Springfield Township. Why am I the only one here that's against this flag? Why? Because guess what? Everybody else is intimidated by every one of you to come up here and talk. No, they are. They are. I have talked to a lot of them. No, they came. Right, but they cannot, they are intimidated. People are intimidated. Yeah, please. Because this is exactly why they're intimidated. See, I could care less what everybody says. But these other people live next to everybody, next to neighbors, and they are afraid of coming up and talking. And you laugh at them. You laugh. She is still here.
Mr. President, point of order.
Yeah.
Mr. President, point of order.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I would
No,
say.
I'm sorry.
It's fine. Let's.
Point of order,
close this.
Commissioner Maxwell.
I'm tired of hearing about it.
Excuse
Hey,
me.
Hey,
Excuse,
Eddie.
Can you please be quiet?
Can
the audience, can you please stop shouting across the room?
Can I remind
Maxwell.
Can I remind the president to please remind the audience that all comments are directed towards the board?
I've done that, Mr. Commissioner Maxwell, earlier. So we're going to allow one additional comment from the floor. Am I in violation of the sunshine law by saying that, Mr. Solicitor?
No, if there's any new comments, I would say,
Yeah,
if there is anything that's repetitive, I think we've probably covered it already.
thank you. Yes, sir.
You may think it's repetitive, I don't know. I'm John Gleeper from Orland. Full disclosure, I'm a police officer, not obviously in Springfield Township, but I work elsewhere. I've spent my entire life in military service and emergency services. I'm not going to get into, there's 10,000 things I could say about what I've heard tonight. I kind of want to address the union issue, and whoever, I've heard so many people speak tonight, I don't even remember who asked you what your role is with the police department when they're working. And a couple of things. One, it's not a union negotiation in any way, shape, or form. A union negotiation, and if you're part of a union or you're a rep, then you know you have, if you have arbitrators, there's a lot of rules that go along with that. And we can disagree at a union negotiation, and it's not going to affect my job. You guys decide who gets hired, who gets fired, who gets promoted. You can ruin the person's career. When you ask for something once, it's your request, no matter whether you say you did it nicely or not. Twice is a request, 3 times is maybe a request, 5 times and a public meeting is coercion. When I get somebody in an interrogation room, I have rules that I have to follow about how the room is set up and how many people can be in the room, so I don't intimidate people. That's what this is. I don't know who's for and who's against this on the board, but clearly there's an agenda. And you tried to do it the right way, supposedly the right way. You were told, no, it's not a township issue because it doesn't involve a township entity. And that's not good enough. So we're going to keep going at it. And we're going to have a public meeting. And we're just going to push this until everybody's worked up on both sides. And it's a mess. And I've heard people say, oh, well, let's just calm down and look at other people's viewpoints. You got to look at the cop's viewpoint too. You say, let's look at the viewpoint, but you don't care what my viewpoint is. I have to look at yours, but mine goes on hold. If that emblem means a lot to me, you don't care because it's more important that person A is upset by it than it is that I'm upset by you trying to take it away because it got co-opted by a bunch of knuckleheads. That's the bottom line. It's an emblem. It's an emblem that means a lot to police officers. And it's not just an emblem for police officers. There's a red one for firefighters. I forget, the EMS has one. There's a green one, I think, for dispatchers, or yellow or whatever. Everybody's got it now. It is not meant in any way, shape, or form to be a racist symbol. There are racist idiots that ran around with the flag. This gentleman stole my thunder because I was going to get up and say it before. Those same idiots run around with an American flag. You're not going to tell me I can't wear an American flag. I'm sorry if an emblem makes you upset, but somebody said it earlier. At some point, you got to stop. Someday, somebody's going to look at that emblem and say, hey, that's an Indian hand and a pilgrim hand shaking hands, and I'm a Native American. That offends me. I want you to change the township logo. At what point do we stop? That's all. If we're going to look at it from both sides, let's look at it from both sides.
Thank you for your comments, sir. I am now going to entertain a motion to adjourn. I did announce before she got up that that was the last one. I even went to our solicitor to.
I was standing there before he spoke.
Maybe she just has something new.
You have something new to add?
Yes, I do. I want to speak to the notion that this group is intimidating. One of the most intimidating things right now in our society is to be called a racist. And anybody and everybody in this room who dares question this narrative or stand in defense of the police or the symbol has been accused at one time of being a racist. I've seen people on social media who wanted to get involved in this dialogue when it was first brought to their attention, saying, okay, help me understand. Oh, you're racist. How dare you question my trauma? You're racist. And so I think actually it's the opposite. I think a lot of people who support the police are intimidated to speak out. And the reason why you have so many people here now today is because we've had enough. And like the gentleman said before, if you push with this, you're going to see people lose their fear of being mislabeled by people who aren't willing to see and hear them and stand up for the things they believe in. So one thing I think that's going to come out of this is that people are going to be refused to be intimidated. Okay, are people intimidated when they come on my property and steal my American flags? Are people intimidated when they come on my property and steal my back the blue signs? Are people intimidated when they come on my property and steal anything in support of the police? They're not. Okay, so me being strong and me have the confidence and the conviction to stand by what I believe in and be vocal in this community has cost me a lot. It's cost my children relationships with our neighbors. It's caused people to leave at the playgrounds. It's caused a lot, but I believe in this and I'm always going to be willing to support the police. So for people who are still watching or may see a clip of this, find your voice, be strong. Don't be afraid to say your opinion. Don't be afraid to stand for what you believe in. Don't be afraid to stand in for what's right. Thank you.
All right. That being the final comment, I am going to entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting for this evening. May I have a motion to do so?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those that approve, say, please signify by saying yay, nay, I mean, yes.
Aye.
All those that oppose, please denote a unanimous vote, and the meeting is now adjourned. Hey, good.